Yep, so it's all Star Citizen today on Cast and Shadows. We got a shit ton of stuff. We got multiple ISCs that we didn't cover because of taking a little bit of a break. But it's actually some really good stuff. You know, we've got the monthly report for both Squadron and Star Citizen. The Squadron one I can just sum up right now, just because there wasn't a huge amount of info in it. It was mostly just, hey, here's an update on some back-end tech for cinematics and for transitioning the cinematics into gameplay and how that's going to work and how things you do in the game will trigger cinematics, animation pathing and animation stuff like for AIs as well as players. So mostly, again, just most back-end tech that's being worked on. We did get an AMA for dynamic events where questions asked on Spectrum by backers were answered by the devs regarding the Ninetales lockdown and Xenothreat events that we've had in the past few months. And, you know, what bugs were there, what fixes they're going to be, what's the future of dynamic events, that sort of thing. And Salvage got pushed back to 3.16, so... And got pushed forward. Got pushed forward to 3.16.
Did it? No.
Yeah,
it was going to be 3.
No,
315.
Wait, no.
Are we talking?
Hold on a second. Are we talking about the salvage tool or salvage as a gameplay?
As the gameplay mechanics.
Huh. Maybe it was.
I'm pulling up the roadmap now.
Yeah, right now it's in 3.16.
All right. Well, anyone's watching, they probably can just go back to our previous live stream and go, "Oh, that's what they said." Anyway.
Yeah, it is showing as the gameplay mechanic is showing. Well, that's surprising, honestly.
All right. So why don't we start with the roadmap then? Let me just pull it. No, it's good. I was trying to figure out what topic to start with. So.
Well, and what's interesting to note too. So this is actually twice now in succession. We have had, and again, this could change in the future, and not to note too. I mean, we've seen plenty of stuff pushed back, but we've now seen 2 items now being pushed forward on the roadmap. That being Orison version 2, which was slated for 3.16 end of the year, is now going to be 3.15 this upcoming patch here in a couple of weeks or so. And now we're seeing Salvage where it got pushed back from, what was it, 3.15 originally? Or 3.16 originally got pushed back?
If we're talking originally, it's going to be back in like...
Well, yeah, but more recently, when were they talking about it? It was going to be like 3.16.
Thought it was going to be 3.15, and then now it's pushed to 16.
Well, no, it got pushed to next year. I know for a bit. It was like quarter 1, quarter 2 next year, and now they're apparently pushing it back.
Okay.
I'm pretty
sure. It's moving a lot.
It's moving around, but
hey, it's active.
Either way, the fact that it's currently slated for 3.16 is good news.
Yeah. I also think just because of the way it's moving and how close it's coming, that means that we're also going to get a very limited version.
True. That is
which isn't surprising, but
then again, though, how long has Salvage itself been in development?
It's the one thing in Star Citizen that's constantly getting pushed back, and people make there are jokes because of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was like, oh, we're getting a Reclaimer, so that means Salvage is coming.
And then we did it,
yeah. CIG, that's cute.
Yeah.
A little bit. Alright, so... Yeah, so we got the roadmap update. We also have some of the major roadmap updates were, we got scoreboard UI improvements, converting the scoreboards in Arena Commander and Star Marine to building blocks, Pirate Swarm and Vandal Swarm improvements, a rebalance of the waves in Arena Commander. For anyone who doesn't know, Pirate Swarm and Vandal Swarm are essentially horde mode dogfighting in Star Citizen in the Arena Commander module of the game, where it's you got a swarm of pirates or a swarm of Vandal. So we got tech, healing tier 0 is on the release view for what was it?
315.
315. Okay. NPC healing as well. Physical local inventory. Asset manager. Mobiglass map. Mobiglass app. Sorry. Doctor and nurse UI behaviors. Cure life medical tool. The Grey Cat multi tool healing attachment, and the scoreboard UI improvements. I should note that the Vanduul and Pirate Swarm improvements, the rebalance, is scheduled for 318 though. It was included in the roadmap roundup. So next we got what's been moved to 318. We got FPS radar and scanning, which was in 315. It got pushed back to 318. Actor feature EVA tier 0, which was pushed from 316 to 318. Hacking, which was pushed from 316 to 318. And 0G push and pull was again pushed from 316 to 318.
That is one I can't wait for. That's going to be pretty fucking cool.
Honestly, both EVA tier 0 and 0G push and pull are I'm excited for because they're kind of needed right now.
Now, that being said, I think one nasty surprise that's going to come with EVA tier 0 is the introduction of fuel for EVA, because right now we don't have any fuel source or needs.
Also, another caveat to add to this is, and this is just purely based off of previous track record, is anything mapped for Q1 and Q2 of any new year has a extreme potential to get completely moved again, because they usually, as soon as we hit January, they go into a kind of like a bunker down mode, and we don't hear anything until like mid-February when they come out with like, this is the new roadmap for this year. So
yeah, because they take that holiday break. So pretty much anything from 317 and 318, those are completely tentative and will most likely be pushed back to 319, 320, etc.
Yeah.
So these are pretty much just whatever they couldn't do this year.
Yep.
They're pushing it back for next year, and even then it might still get pushed back.
And that being said, though, 315, honestly, I gotta say, I was really surprised at how much was confirmed for 315. And on top of that, Orison version 2 moving up on it. If we get that and we get salvage at the end of the year, that alone is gonna go and make this one of the best years.
Yeah. But I also think that's partially because they're not worried about doing a in-person
TipCon
con. Yeah. So I think it's kind of a combination of they don't have to worry about like moving all those people and setting things up and blah 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 with the physical side.
All they had to do was they had Jared run around and record some videos.
Well, that, and also I think because it's not in person, they're kind of like, hey, we need to deliver kind of big on content, because people aren't going to be focused on the real physical going to and from and all that. So let's make sure we've got some real content for them to bite into. Which
is good. I like. Maybe we'll get more digital CitizenCon. Like, not that I don't like the physical CitizenCon. I just think that when you look at what we're getting because it's being digital, we're getting that focus on content versus the normal thing.
I would be happy if they kept it more digital in future years.
I agree. I've always, like, I get the SitCon, and I like that they have a physical SitCon where people can go and gather. But I've also kind of over time been watching what's developed, and this is just my personal opinion, but I've thought that it's because it's the physical SitCon started to impact what we were watching them do too much, where I was like, so I agree. I think they should keep it cyber and provide more content. I like that. but still have the physical, but just have it be more like, hey, we're just going to meet up and people are going to kind of hang out and talk Star Citizen, but we're not going to let it impact our production.
Toned down a little bit more than what it is.
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, so we got 315. A lot of stuff is already committed. All the gameplay has been committed. So we got gameplay, scoreboard UI, Broken Moon map update, infiltration and defend missions, physical local inventory support, asset manager, Mobigless app, the boot generation tier 0, the personal inventory, which is going to be a build up for physical inventory, tech healing tier 0, bombs, NPC healing, and that's it for gameplay. But it's all committed. Like, that's what we're getting in 315. Now, granted, that could mean, okay, we get 315.0 and maybe like 2 things are missing, and then we get 315.1 and they're but it still means we're going to be seeing them, sure, which is nice. They haven't said anything on any of the ships. Obviously, they're still tentative, but they showed off through various Inside Star Citizens ships, and they look good. Got the medical gun here. So I think it's 315 is definitely looking like a really content-heavy patch, and that's a good.
Yeah.
Even most of the AI has been committed. Shop and patrons hasn't, but Doctor and all the medical AI has been.
And I mean, some of this too, it could be that this is just a one-off thing in terms of like the amount of content we're getting with 315 that's been committed so far. It could be that's just a one-off, and we'll get back to the usual after that. It could be that this is the result of the what do they call it? The where they have like every other team they have like 2 teams working on patches, and they have every other team. Like one team works on 317, and then the
Staggered
team,
development.
Yeah, that was it. Staggered development. Maybe it's that's starting to finally pay real dividends. Maybe it's because of the digital sitcom. Maybe it's just because they've been hiring more and more people and expanding teams. They've got Turbulent now, like doing like some Planet Tech and stuff. Maybe that's taking.
They also have
some people out to work on other stuff. Who knows?
Remember, they also have that studio that's working on them to make whatchamacallit, Theaters of War.
Yep.
I'm blanking
Fire
on
Sprite, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which Fire Sprite,
so
right?
Maybe it's a combination of all that kind of stuff. But either way, it's definitely nice. Hopefully,
Fire Sprite wasn't Fire Sprite recently acquired by what was it? I think they were recently bought out by Sony.
Yeah, no, I remember hearing that. And some people have then I've seen some Reddit posts leading to speculation of is Theaters of War going to be like some standalone PlayStation game or some shit like that, and it's like, maybe. I would heavily doubt it, just because honestly I don't see CIG delivering part of the game at all where they can't deliver the whole thing.
I was in agreement with that idea until just recently when I heard some other people talking, and they brought up a good point, which is Star Citizen, not Squadron42, but Star Citizen is probably not going to be doable just because of the amount of tech that's behind it for consoles. So one idea might be that they spin off these little subsections, kind of like Theaters of War, for consoles to get console players interested in coming over to Star Citizen on computer.
In other words, hey, look, this is a taste of what you can do on the PC.
Huh. Sorry?
I was saying, like, hey, look, here's a taste of what you can do on the PC.
Yeah,
get a PC.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
Not only that, but think of it not necessarily as PC, but like on I can't think of the name of it right now, but Amazon's gaming platform.
Oh, like
in general,
stream gaming.
Yeah.
Cloud gaming.
Cloud gaming. Yeah. So like, hey, you're playing this on a console, but look what you could be doing in the cloud if you come over.
The cloud.
Well, I mean, also too,
Sorry.
what if Amazon were to make a deal
Lumberyard,
with
that's
like,
what I was
Microsoft,
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, Microsoft, you let us add our cloud servers to your console as a thing. So it's how like you could before watch like Netflix and stuff on your Xbox. If you could go and connect, because all you really need with that is a decently powerful internet connection. Everything else, is running on the servers, and then it just scales the like graphics and stuff to whatever your machine can handle. I could see something like that happening in the future.
Yeah,
Because then it's like,
that's
as long as you have controller support for the game, it doesn't matter if you're playing the console version, the PC version, or whatever. Not really. Sure, you might have like a few bugs here or there, or issues here or there that could be a
yeah.
thing.
But that's why I was saying, like, before I was actually in agreement with your idea that it doesn't make sense. But then when I heard that, I was kind of like, oh, that kind of does make sense. Like, especially for marketing, how do we draw
Yeah.
attention to us? How do we get
Yeah.
more people into us? So I'm just saying it. I'm not saying that is what they're doing. It was
But
just
it's a
an idea.
possibility.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
just spitballing. Hey, they could do this if they really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly, it sounds like a good idea to me. So.
A standalone subsection of the game that lets people get a taste.
Also,
Right.
too, I mean, they could theoretically push Squadron42, theoretically, to consoles.
Yes.
I don't know if it would be doable. It would depend a lot on how much of that is depending on the PC requirements and shit. But it's at least theoretically doable once it's out.
That was actually the theory that had originally developed. That idea that I had heard was that Squadron42 was eventually going to go to console to draw people in.
I could see it.
Yep.
I could see it.
And it's a standalone
like, hey,
mission, so you don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need all the other shit.
Yep. But anyways,
I guess it'll be I think it's possible. I think it's a kind of. I mean,
Yep.
only time will tell, right? But.
Yep.
But honestly, I'm very much looking forward to 315. I think it's going to be a pretty decent game changer. Can't wait to do all the rescue missions in my Pisces from some guy who got fucking headshotted on a bunker mission.
Yeah, I was just hearing, I believe Astropub and a couple of his guests talking about potential gameplay development from that, and also, can't think of the proper wording for it, but abuse of the system as well. And they're
yeah, setting traps and stuff with a beacon and that kind of shit.
Yeah, and being able, like, so when we get the drug gun, what's to stop you from drugging people and just keep drugging them unless they pay you?
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like, hey, I'm just going to interrupt your gameplay, so you're laying here on the floor until you pay me.
Yeah,
I'll just keep drugging you.
That's entirely possible.
It's just an evil, but then again, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Or also too, I'm wondering how they're going to go and do the medical rescue missions. That hey, I'm down. I need anyone, please come rescue me. Because as we have missions right now, at least, when someone goes and accepts the mission, it takes that mission off the board. If I'm the pirate
For certain
who just
missions, yes.
killed you, I grab that mission. Or my buddy goes and grabs that mission to make sure no one else is coming to rescue you. Maybe I hold you hostage. Yeah. Hey, tell you what, you pay me 50,000 AUC.
That was something
we'll res you.
Yep.
And then maybe we'll res you. Maybe we'll just fucking leave you after you pay us. Who knows? Like we'll res you, and then we'll wait for you to transfer the funds, and then we shoot you again. Bye.
Yep.
Well, that's like, I don't know if you
and
guys
take
remember,
all your stuff.
Yeah.
Was it? I don't know if we covered it here, but it was in Elite Dangerous. There was essentially a group of players who would go to new player starting zones, right? And they would find new players, and they would tell them, this is how you set up your ship. You need to go buy this, this, and this. I'll give you a bit of money for it, right?
Okay.
And so as soon as the players set
I can
up
see
their
where
ship
this is
like
going.
this, yeah. essentially what they were doing is setting them up with a jump drive that wasn't able to travel extremely far. And then
Okay.
they would take them out on their super ship to a mining area
Where
that
they're
they
now
couldn't get
stranded.
to. Yeah, they're now stranded there, and they would say, you have to mine for us, or we're not taking you back. So people
Dude,
are now
that's-
stuck out.
That's
Yeah, they're
fucked.
stuck mining for some guys.
Now,
Yep,
that being said,
figured.
I can see that as being some level of emergent gameplay, but at the same point, I would say that's starting to blur the line into being griefing.
Yeah, well, here's where I would say, because it's targeting specifically new players who are looking for help.
Yeah,
right? If you were like,
especially that.
if I went up to UCAM and I just like, I took over your ship and then I took you there, then it's like, hey.
Well,
that's
well, so
kinda
it's like
games, right?
I'm gonna be. I know the mechanic. I'm a somewhat veteran player. I know the mechanics. I can at least postulate a few ways to get out of there, or if nothing else, go outside the game to call for help or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Whereas a new player, they're just be like, "Well, fuck this. I'm just not gonna
I'm
play
stuck
this now."
Yeah, exactly.
Not exactly something you want to do to a new player because it's totally going to ruin the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that was just
you're
an
gonna have
example
like
that I
5
know
or
I've seen.
10% who would be like, "Oh well, that was some interesting emergent gameplay." Everyone else is gonna be like, "Well, fuck these assholes and fuck this game."
Because a lot, you got to remember that, a lot of people forget, like, oh, you can do this, yeah, sure, but it's emergent gameplay and all. But at the same time, first,
First perspective.
first impressions matter, and this is that
Yeah.
player's first impression,
Well,
and you're giving them a hard
for
time.
emergent gameplay like that, it has to be enjoyable for everybody. Like, obviously, okay, sometimes you're not going to
Barely,
enjoy
but at
being
the same point, the
captured,
fact
right?
that they're targeting
Yeah,
the
there's
new
going to be
players.
times where you're not going to be enjoying.
I mean,
captured,
for
but at least
example-
you're going to be like, hey, this is a part of the game. It's not like I got
Oh,
tricked
yeah.
by some random guy. Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing is that you have them specifically creating a no-win scenario for new players who have no way of knowing anything outside of what they're being told here,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
it's
that was
it's,
just
it's
one
essentially
of the things
entrapment.
Yeah,
And-
that's one of
and-
the things I know happens. So hopefully nothing like that happens to Star Citizen. But
Well, also, I mean, granted, this isn't guaranteed. We don't know for sure. So this
Mhm.
is somewhat hypothetically based. But,
Mhm.
they're saying that when you tentatively, and hopefully this
Mhm.
coming week's episode will give us more info on it, but they're saying tentatively, if you die, you actually, fully die, you will spawn back at the last local hospital that you set as your home
Yes,
base.
so we'll get into that in a sec. First, I just want to say
So,
hey to the
right.
Nerdporial. No, so we have our chat is currently active. The Nerdporial Light Form says, "Sup everyone," from the only guy in the chat. Entertain me, engage your chat. But yeah, so the medical gameplay we had.
Well, can I finish the
Yeah,
statement
yeah.
before we switch gears?
Well, you were talking about medical gameplay, right?
No,
Hey,
what
let
I'm
him
saying.
finish. Let him finish.
Okay, let him finish. Okay.
What I was saying is we don't know. This is all just based off of the information that we've gotten so far, which is when you die, you're gonna go back. Your body's gonna reappear back at your local home base medical facility, whatever's
Right. So
closest to you.
the point of that was you.
Can I finish?
Just gonna elaborate that because people who are watching probably don't
let
know.
him finish.
Let me finish and then we can elaborate. So you're going to respawn back to wherever your local bed is, the closest to your home base. I think that will stop the kind of situation that Coolio was talking about with guys being stuck out in a mining belt somewhere and having to do the mining, because at least then the players reset back to home base and they can start fresh. They're not spawning right back into wherever it was that they last died at. That's all I was trying to get at.
No, absolutely. Also,
Yeah, that's
too,
true.
I would say with the Star Citizen community in general, I mean, hell, even if you were to just put in chat, help, some guys kidnapped me and is holding me hostage, telling me I have to mine from her, will kill me, someone help. You're going to have probably, in even just a 50-player server, you're going to have probably 3 other players who are going to be like, okay, let's do this.
Yep, exactly.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the whole point of the medical gameplay is you have to set a specific point where you're going to, when you start the game now, you're going to have what do they call it, your local clinic or something. Your residency, I think they called it. So you're gonna have a residency. You're gonna have to choose pretty much one of the cities like you do normally, and the hospital at that city is gonna be wherever you spawn when you die, like die versus because the way medic gameplay is gonna go is whenever you're killed now. For instance, anytime you get injured and then all your health goes to 0 in Star Citizen, you just drop dead. That's not going to be the case anymore. You're going to go into a down state depending on your injury. So if you break your legs, which is the worst one, you're not really going to be able to move. You'll go into a down state. You either have to wait for someone to come pick you up, right? You can call for help and wait for someone to come rescue you, or you can just force respawn, essentially, and you'll respawn at whatever hospital you set. So that's the medical gameplay there.
I can't wait. I'm gonna love being a medic, I think.
My only issue right now is the fact that they're saying that you're only gonna during the initial implementation, is that you're only going to be allowed to select, I think it's Area 18, New Babbage, and Horizon as as the 3 places that you can initially spawn from with medical support.
That's kind of sucky.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
The only other thing I'll note is like I was saying before too, I really hope they make it so that when someone does go and they get down, they're calling for rescue. I hope that they make it so that for that rescue beacon that gets put up, that anyone can accept it. However, maybe down the line, like I know we've got the rating system, which up till now has really, as far as I'm aware, never been used in game. So maybe that'll play into it later on. But as is right now, I hope they make it for this first implementation where anyone can see and accept the beacon, and the beacon itself does not turn off, does not stop allowing people to accept it until the person has been revived. So that way you don't have the case of, oh, well, I'm the pirate who just killed you, or I'm the pirate's buddy who just killed you. I'm going to accept that mission so no one else can get it.
It's also, it's exactly.
I understand where you're going with that, but then think about like you're driving along, you've got the guy in the back of your Cuddy Bread, and he said the destination you want to go to was across the system.
Well,
you got 5 guys chasing.
I'm assuming mission complete. Once you have gotten to him, you use your little medical gun on him, and he is mobile and upright. I'm assuming at that point mission complete, with a caveat that maybe there's now a additional, because at that point, once he's ambulatory, I could, again, assuming no other issues or anything like that, I could be like, you good? Okay, good. Bye. Have a good day. And he goes and gets back in his ship and he flies off to wherever he needs to go, whether that's returning cargo to a medical facility or whatever else. Now, that being said, there should be an option for them to go and request, and then for me, the medic who just helped them, because I'm now on scene with them, to be like, hey, can you go and transport me or stabilize me and get me to an actual medical facility instead of just getting me ambulatory? And then that would then be a additional mission after that.
Gotcha.
That's how I kind of envision it, at least.
I was thinking that you were more looking at how to stop the piracy from abusing the mechanic. And to me,
that too.
My thinking is that you should have the rating system, or what is going to be your reputation, and I think there should be a way that you, as let's say you're the person you're down and out and you're requesting the help.
Yeah.
Whoever accepts that mission, if they do something wrong to you, I think that you should have a way to like file the charge, kind of a thing. I'm not saying exactly like that, but
hey, 1 star, whatever the lowest rank, 1 star out of 5. This guy was an asshole. He didn't help me at all.
Right, and if the game mechanics support it, or not mechanics, but like what the servers and the admins can see behind the scenes support that. Yeah, this guy showed up and basically, put a bullet in this guy's head or something.
Yeah, I think there should be a way. Shows up, they're like, "Hi, bam." Like, what the fuck? Like, ha, really?
Well, what I'm thinking is you should have a way of that individual who does that kind of gameplay starts has a have a tag that you can attach to that person. That
Yeah.
the more times that they do it, that stat increases, and that stat actually gets seen by, say, the local authorities, and they start going, "Hey, this guy's targeted. He's been reported for killing people who are down and out. We especially don't like that. Let's go after that guy." In other words,
No, absolutely.
you're not just a
That
bad
being
guy.
said,
You're the
I
guy who kills
also
medics,
think-
kind of a thing.
I also think on top of that, there needs to be a similar reporting option for the person responding. So your first responder who's coming out.
Yes.
So that for the people who are using the beacon as a lure for a
Yes.
trap, to go and just be able to report that, go like, whoa, hey, this guy has been rescued 5 times, and each time his buddies come along and a cutlass and shoot your ship up after
Yeah.
you've gotten out, that kind of shit. It's like there needs to be
this
a way
is the
to
fifth-
communicate that.
This is the 5th rescue beacon in 45 minutes that he's put out, and it's been marked that he's he's been hostile to everybody who showed up.
So I hope we would get that with Tier
Yeah.
0. I'm not gonna bet on that
don't
being the
get it.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because those are definitely more like quality of life as opposed to, hey, this is the first implementation of
Yes,
the
agree.
mechanics. But we don't know. Fingers crossed. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure someone knows, but just
Well,
not us.
We don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
That
think
being
there'll
said-
have to be. I wouldn't necessarily call it quality of life, because I think medical is that one little kind of special realm because of what you're dealing with, which is you got first responders and you got people who are potentially life and death. I think that's a unique little microcosm where you need some of that game mechanics to support
Yeah.
non-abuse.
Yeah, no, I mean you're right, but we won't know until we have it in our hands.
Yep, absolutely.
And that being said, too, with some of the stuff, some of the stuff might be a case of, oh yeah, we had thought about that, but like when it's in like PTU, because CIG monitors that kind of stuff. We're like, oh hey,
Yeah, we just
were
want to
thinking
see what
about
you guys
that.
will do, so we put no restrictions on it, and
Yeah.
then we'll tailor. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they might be like, oh yeah, we can go and whip that mechanic up or something along those lines here. A week later, boom, there we go. Here's the patch for that.
Yeah, I agree.
So hopefully, but we'll have to see. Either way,
We'll have to wait and see. That's definitely the recurring theme here.
Yeah,
That's, I was going to say,
I-
that's the name of the game.
Wait and see.
I think either way, if you're a first responder, it'll be smart to have a few buddies with guns.
Oh yeah, like
along
have
with you.
security essentially.
Yep.
I was laughing. I actually teamed up with a group of players from some other org. They're like they were like on the first tier of like milsim, to the point where like they had like call signs and they had like a dedicated helmsman and stuff like that. But that was as deep as they were going. They weren't like, oh, you gotta call me sir, and like that kind of bullshit.
How can they have
You
call
gotta-
signs?
You
There's
gotta
only
bow
one of
whenever
me.
you see me and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
It's
Right?
only one
Well,
call
they
sign.
cloned you. I'm sorry.
He's
But-
a dick.
But like we were rolling around with like, I think we had a fully manned hammerhead, we had a hurricane that I was the gunner of, and then I think we also had a gladius in this group here, and we were just steamrolling all of the like very high risk bounty missions. Well, like literally it would take us less than like 3 minutes or so from combat start to combat end before we just killed everything. So I'm just imagining like you got like a fully manned fucking like a fully manned Carrick, for example, rocking down to this medical beacon, and it's like you got like some guy in like a cutlass trying to be like, oh, we're gonna go and threaten these first responders, and it's just like, yeah, you might want to fucking get out of here.
You might want to rethink your life choices.
and
I'm
then
thinking-
the hangar opens up and a buccaneer comes out.
I was thinking that a really good combo would be like a Cutlass Red and a what's the stealth bomber?
The
You
Eclipse?
just-
The Eclipse?
Yeah, the Eclipse. You just have the Eclipse kind of do a high speed flyover doing stealth mode, and like Oh yeah, no, we got 3 pirate ships down there. Give me 1 minute. Okay, they're gone. Go ahead. You win.
What pirate
That
ships?
would be fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some good gameplay there.
All right, so yeah, we got the medical gameplay. Obviously, we're getting new drugs in addition to the pure life gun. So it's not just going to be the med pen. The med pen will essentially heal minor wounds, whereas you're going to need to actually take drugs to help you with more with more severe wounds, and that's probably why they revamped the med pen design. This way, you can, based on color, see what drug you're taking, which is a neat, which is a good idea, I think.
Well, here's the thing. We don't know anything about the med pen, and I'm only speaking about the stages, but we don't know anything about the stages of the med pen, the tier 3 bed, the tier 2 bed, and
No,
the tier 1.
we don't know
We,
the relationship.
we do know that a tier 1 can handle tier 1, 2, and 3. We know that a tier 2 can handle tier 2 and tier 3, and we know tier 3 only does tier 3. But then what does a pen do? Because if a 3 is basic, then why have a pen? Or if you have a pen that does 3, then why have a 3 bed?
Well,
You tracking what I'm saying?
Well, I think
am.
I was gonna say, I think it's more so like, oh, you stabilize yourself for a short time, and then after that, you can get to a bed, so you can get somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah,
but
the pen is
Because
just
the
we
other
don't
thing is, you
know.
might not always be right beside a tier 3, but you might be on planet deep in a mine or something, right?
Yeah,
True.
and the
It's
pen is
essentially
just
it's
to get
essentially
you
a
back to your
stabilizer,
ship,
like a
so you
stim
can
pack.
stumble over to the clinic.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's essentially a stim pack.
But
Yeah,
what I'm
well,
the
not
main
even that, 'cause
underline
Stimback's heal.
the main underline is
And that
we don't know
stabilizes you,
because
though.
they haven't provided that info.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
No, they haven't.
which hopefully, and that's like I mentioned earlier, hopefully they said that there was this coming week's episode was gonna hopefully clarify some of that.
Well, this one is going to be about, I believe it was focusing on inventory mostly, I think was what they said. I might be wrong, but
No, they did, but they also were commenting about. I thought they were commenting about medical getting a little bit more of an update as well.
okay, yeah, they might go a little more into that, and I could definitely see them doing it, just because that's still one of the
Yeah, it's
main
the-
features coming along.
It's the biggest thing coming this patch, and yeah, it's a big gameplay feature they want to talk about as much as possible, I think.
Because, and this is where I heard this kind of topic being brought up was people were after the info that had been put out about medical, people were asking, so what's the point of the Cuddy Red? Because if the pen and the tier 3 bed basically do the same things,
They don't. As far as I'm
there's
aware, they
no-
don't.
Okay, well that's where people were saying we don't know because they haven't
Yeah,
clarified.
I think what they've been kind of beating around the bush with some of their videos is that the med pen right now the med pen just heals you, as it is the med pen. What they were saying, if I remember it, they caught a line that they had said in the last video where the med pen itself will only get you back up to whatever your max health can be with your current injuries. It will not heal those injuries. That's what you require the beds for. So you're still going to be sustaining injuries. The med pen is just bringing you to as good as you can be with those injuries. So you won't and then over time you're going to destabilize further and further from them.
I understand that, but think about it this way. Why buy a Cuddy Red if I can just have somebody carrying around a med pen and I can use a Cutlass Black to at least get me back to the hospital?
That's
the caveat that I'm talking.
I get what you're saying. The way I was
Right.
kind of seeing it is that it's like, oh hey, you on top of the things like, oh hey, your arm is broken, your weapon's shaking all over, you can't even use your arm anymore at the high end of that injury. On top of that, it's also going to be like, oh hey, you've suffered some severe chest wounds, and so not only can you not sprint for as long, your maximum health now, even if you stim, or stim back, if you med pen up as much as you want, your health is only going to go up to 40, because
Right.
you're so
Okay.
hurt. That's as good as you can be until you get to, and maybe those injuries, they're all, or maybe maybe it's like, okay, I was hitting the chest, I was hitting my leg, I was hitting both my arms and my head. All those injuries together, I'm down to like 30 or 40 health points here out of 100. Doesn't
Even
matter how
then,
many
that
pens I
was
use
changed.
until those actual wounds are the underlying injuries are treated by the med bed. And then depending on how severe they are, the Cuddy Red could go, like I said, it's like I've got one leg is wounded, both my arms, my torso, and my head. All of that combined has taken me to this point. But the Cuddy Red can heal all of them because they're still low-level wounds. They aren't anything super serious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
That's
it's
a
like you had
possibility.
said too, even it might be 30 seconds and then, or it might be 30 minutes and something gets worse, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And I hope they do that to the point where it's not just that further injuries will further hurt you, but that if you leave these injuries unattended to, and then it's like, hey, I've got a I've got a not a break, but a fracture in my bone, my arm, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just push on through this mission, and I just keep pushing on, even if I don't necessarily sustain any further damage to it. Just using it, so like holding and using tools, picking up boxes, should go and worsen that injury to the point
Yeah.
where I might go and end up losing functionality of that arm because of it.
Or deformity of it, or
Yeah.
a certain percentage.
Something like
It
that.
doesn't work. It's 10% less effective as it was when it was perfect.
When it was
in
just
perfect condition.
injured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I'd also like to see though, for the med pens, that maybe the first time you use it, it works 100%. Now, like whatever its capability range is, it's 100% effective. But say the third time that you use it without having actually gone through a healing cycle, at a bed, maybe it only works 80%. And then if you use it
So-
another couple times, it only, the pen only
Yeah,
does
maybe.
60%.
So they did
because
say
you're-
that you will, if you constantly use the med pen, you will actually, it will slowly become useless. You'll get used to it.
it'll lose its
Okay.
effectiveness.
It'll,
I didn't
yeah,
hear
it'll lose
that,
its
so that's
efficiency
good.
and potentness.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
I remember them saying that a
Because
year
then
ago.
also too, it's like, okay, even if you push through this mission, you push through the next mission, there's only so much you can keep pushing until
Yeah.
something, your body, is going to break.
Yep. And I'm all for that, because that is
Yeah.
still, it allows you to, you're at the bottom of the bunker. Do you want to go all the way back up to the surface or push through the next 5 minutes of the mission? And it lets you make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, and also too, maybe you make the decision, hey, let's say like way down the line, I'm hoping sooner rather than later, as more of this like reputation stuff comes online, and I'm hoping that we start getting these multi-stage missions that we've been seeing at like SitCon forever, but we still never really gotten delivery of.
Yeah,
I would love
fly
to
down
see
to
it.
the surface and then get in your Ursa rover and go look for something, kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, you went here, and then this points you to another location. You drive over there, and then you
Yep.
go to another location. Okay, here's the final objective, kind of thing. Let's say if you're halfway through that and you got shot up bad, you're like, okay, I took a med pen. I'm on my feet here, but ooh, I'm not doing well. Maybe you go and you call up your buddy Bob. You're like, hey Bob, I could really use a bit of a pick me up. Can you bring your ship out here? He goes, yeah, no problem. It'll take me 20, 30 minutes, but I'll be out there. You go and hold. So mission's kind of just on hold, assuming no timer or anything needed for it. He comes flying in with his Cutlass Red. You spend five minutes there. Pay Bob a decent little fee there, and then off you go to continue your mission.
Yeah. I'd be down with that.
I mean, that would be some pretty cool emergent games. Like I would love to be on like cruising around in my Carrack and someone goes, hey, I could really, I'm don't need like first aid, but I could use a clinic's touch here. And I fly over with my character. Yeah, here, 20K,
Yeah.
and I'll hook you right up.
A little bit of hit me up. Anyway, and that's another thing is medical gameplay does pave the way for drugs and alcohol gameplay. So that's also a plus side there. We all want to get completely fit shape.
Now Cam hears the words you're speaking.
What was that?
I said now Cam hears the words you're speaking.
it was all just wah wah wah, but until now.
Yeah, right. So you want to get drunk? Okay. Seriously, they showed off the drunk flying a month ago now, I think. So that was always a fun time.
That's gonna be such a pain in the ass. Ooh.
It's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be annoying, but like fun annoying. It's just like god damn, like you're fighting your ship and like you're swearing. Yeah, it's gonna be fun and irritating at the same time, and all in the good ways.
And for those who don't know, Chris Roberts has a history in almost every single one of his previous games having a mission that you had to take while you were drunk. So think of that for Squadron42.
That'd be hilarious.
Necessary.
Yeah.
You're evil. Unnecessary evil.
So yeah, we got that. Going to my notes here. So yeah, we got the medical gameplay. Medical gameplay is really all they talked about the last 2 weeks, but good for good reason. There's a lot of it. So we also had the most recent Inside Star Citizen, which was about medical gameplay. They talked about the injuries instead of dying, downstate, stuff like that. So head injuries, you're going to get visual effects, and you're going to get more effective force reactions because your balance is going to be completely off. Chest injuries, you're going to have reduced stamina because the way stamina works in Star Citizen, it's all tied to your heart rate, which you do have a little heart monitor on your HUD. It's not always there. It pops up whenever it becomes to a state where, oh, dude, stop running, your heart rate can't take it type thing. So you're not going to have as much stamina because of your heart rate, your chest being injured. Arm injuries, you're going to have increased weapon sway and difficulty using ladders or carrying objects or pretty much doing anything with your hands. And the same thing with legs. Your worst movement's going to be almost non-existent. You're going to be prone locked in severe cases, so you're only going to be able to crawl.
I love that.
I know.
Like literally, hey, both your legs are broken. You are now. The only thing I did not like about it, and to be honest, I assume this will change in the future, but the animations they had of you when you were crawling.
It was just a normal crawl animation.
Like I want to see your character. Like if both your legs are broken, I want to see the character. Like I want to see just like all of it being upper body and just the legs dragging.
Yeah.
A thought that I had
not pushing you.
is I'd also long term, not this iteration or even like the next couple, but long term, I'd also like to see the physical effects that you suffer from debilitation vary depending on gravity. So if you're in outer space and it's a wound that isn't affected by gravity, it shouldn't have as big an impact as having that same type of injury while on the planetary surface.
Yeah.
In other words, like the push-pull that you're talking about, if you're on your ship and the or you're EVAing somewhere, then the gravity shouldn't have as much of an effect on, you're not having to crawl, so you're not worried about that. But, oh shit, you know what? I just lost both my arms. Now I have problems EVAing around because how do I grab on things? That kind of
like, hey,
a
my leg's
transition.
broken. In gravity, I'm going to be at best, I'm going to be hopping everywhere. In
Right.
EVA, I can use my good leg to kind of brace myself as I'm kind of going from point to point, and my arms are still good. So in EVA, my movement is all but normal.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so that, again, they only showed on gravity, so obviously we're not going to be able to see these things, but
well,
they did.
Some of this might come, and some of the like back end for that stuff might be coming with the like EVA tier 2 kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's why I was saying, like, I don't even see this coming out for like 2 or 3 iterations.
Oh, I was gonna
of
go with more that
Handle.
we might see it in 3.15. It just we only saw the on gravity aspects of it.
Yeah.
Oh
good
yeah,
point.
I mean that's a fair point.
Good
That's a
point.
fair point.
Because I mean, you're injured. You're still gonna be injured in space. It's just they didn't actually show. Okay, how does that entry affect you when you're moving around in space?
Yeah,
They only showed it
they
when you're
might have their hand already, elbow deep in that.
exactly. That's all I meant. So hopefully that works because I love that idea where it's like, yeah, you're crap. Like you're in your ship and there was an explosion in the ship. You're injured, but if you go out of the ship, you're able to move out fine and all that. So you can have someone like if your ship is down, right, and eventually later down the line when like the game is more relatively finished, you have engineering gameplay and all that, you can repair your ship on the fly with whatever you have available. You have someone who's injured, like their legs are injured, but they can move around in EVA in space, so they're outside fixing the ship while everyone's inside doing things in there, and can have people can still be useful even though they're injured.
Yep, I agree.
Jeffrey, I need you to put out that fire. But sir, my legs are broken. Did I fucking stutter? Crawl.
Legs are broken. Ship, turn off artificial gravity.
You know what? I want
he
that.
falls to the ceiling because your ship is upside down in normal planetary gravity.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I understand the gameplay, but I actually, that's one of the few things that I've actually not wanted is gravity in the ships.
At least gravity in the ships when they're like, not in like.
Yeah, but I'd be willing to go to the point of like if it's above a certain size ship that maybe it does have gravity generation, just kind of automatic, but definitely in something like Cutlass Black and smaller, I would actually prefer not to have gravity because I think that's just more immersive gameplay for a space sim.
Well,
I agree, but
yeah. Well, you gotta remember also we did see the artificial gravity generators in some of the ships, like the Starfarer and the Reclaimer have them. Obviously so all the larger ships have them. So I can see the larger ships have artificial gravity, but smaller ships don't.
And maybe that could be too. Maybe that is the intention. Just as it is right now, they don't have the tech to be able to just say in the ship itself, because like how the animations are done and all that stuff. Maybe all that stuff is just not in the place to support EVA in the smaller ships.
Yeah, I think that's why they went that route, because just game mechanics wise, it was a lot easier to have you running around inside your Carrack instead of having to do they didn't have push pull EVA capable inside your ship, so they're just like, no, we're just gonna hand wave you them. I get that. It's just, for me, it's always been one of those things that it's like, I wish they wouldn't, but that's just a personal preference.
We also still don't have EVA push pull. That's not going to be change that, but yeah,
well,
hopefully
isn't that something that they said is coming here fairly shortly?
Fairly shortly, yeah.
Soon, DM.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna guess it's probably like 317 or 318. One of those ones we said, don't plan on it.
With that being said, honestly, it does look like shit's going to be changing and somewhat fast now, which is good.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, 318 EVA T2.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm betting too that's going to have the first iteration of fuel.
And 0G push and pull. So yeah, both those are 318. That is going to be wonderful. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, name something that's not going to be wonderful.
Space immersion.
Now, that being said, though, for some ships, like for instance, if we were talking about, like, say, an Aurora, I can definitely see an Aurora just like not having any kind of gravity in there, and it wouldn't really affect it. Same with like a Mustang or any other like fighter style ship. It won't really affect you in it. But if we're looking at like a ship like, say, the Prospector, that is a ship, like the entire layout of it is for, even though it is a spaceship, the entire design of it is that there is a floor, there is a ceiling, it's oriented in that specific way. And if you were always or even primarily 0G in there, I feel like it would have some issues, at least with how that design currently is. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe have it so that, like, if it's just a cockpit only ship, but then, what's the point? Because you don't even need to worry about it. You're only in a cockpit.
Right, like the Gladius or something like that. Yeah.
I just personally
we'll have to see.
like, or maybe have it, that you can, maybe there's no gravity generators in certain ships that are small, but you have your magnetic boots. So that's why the Prospector is laid out that way. You just walk around in boots.
That'd be one. Also, too, you could also have it to where maybe you have gravity generators in all the ships, but they're power hawks. Hey, why would I bother booting up the gravity generator, and instead I'm going to turn that off and have all the rest of my power going to shields and weapons and junk?
Yep, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, but that
at least give me that option,
No, I am totally game for this. I just think that.
And I'm out mining. Why would I have my gravity on if I'm strapped into my cockpit chair like I would expect to be? Maybe once I'm like, okay, hey, I've gotten a decent haul here. I'm gonna go and bed down for the night. Okay, now I turn on the gravity here while I sleep because I like sleeping in natural gravity.
I don't know if that's a good example though, because I'm thinking I want that on so that I can just have the Quantinium like clumping up on my ship, and that way I can bring more back.
Is that how that works? I don't know if that's how that works.
So
I would definitely try it.
I imagine that would just be elements of the engineering gameplay. Like I totally want that, because we have to wait for engineering and the more in-depth power distribution gameplay for that. Stuff like
I understand about the engineer, but what about the Enjafar?
No one say anything. Don't even validate it.
What about the Enja, wherever you are?
You're cutting out, Cam.
What's that? There's static. I can't hear you.
That's what they all say.
Okay, so I think we beat that horse.
Little bit.
What did the horse ever do to you? Jeez.
Everything. When I was young, it started on a bright summer. Anyway, so drugs.
Hug me enough.
Med pens will remain, but will have weaker effect. 5 new drugs are being introduced, and each will have a different treatment. Will treat different symptoms for a time period, so they're not like everlasting. Just boom. Now you have like a 30-second or 30-minute boost on essentially to stabilize you for that period of time. Drugs will not remove injuries; they'll mask symptoms. If you take a drug, your blood drug level will increase, as well as taking alcohol, which different gameplay mechanic. As well as drug level increases, you will start to experience symptoms such as blurry vision or drunk locomotion for the when you're drinking and you're driving or flying under the influence. If you reach 100% blood drug level, you will enter a overdose state, which is similar to a down state. The main difference is that your blood drug level will decay over time. So in other words, don't overdose, because that's a good way to get yourself killed as well. Healing can only cure some injuries by going to a medical facility, a medical bed. Obviously, the medical, they go into the tiers. Tier 3 can relieve minor injuries, so the Cutlass Red is a Tier 3. The Carrack 890 jump and the clinics on the Lagrange point stations are Tier 2 beds. And Tier 1 can, it can cure any injury, and that is a hospital bed.
Or the Apollo, I believe, in some setup.
I think, that you have to get the module, right? Because there's either one Tier 1 bed on either side, 2 Tier 2s, or 3 Tier 3s, I think, right? That's the setup you can get?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure if the Apollo has Tier 1. I thought it was only going to be the 890 and Carrack that had Tier 1.
Well, no, the 8-9
No,
being
the
the Carrack.
8-9 and the Carrack have tier 2.
Yeah.
They're middle of the road.
Okay.
Time,
But
tier
the
2.
Apollo was supposed to be a dedicated medical ship, but it has 2 modular bays, and they were
Yeah.
going, oh yeah, you can either have like 3 tier 3 beds to see more patients of a lesser severity, or you can have like a single tier 1 bed in that
Okay.
entire bay. So that way it's like, okay, you can treat those injuries, but everything
Yeah.
in that bay is dedicated just to treating that, so you can only see that one patient.
I know they had talked about the different quantities. I just didn't know whether they had. I thought they had said tier 2 and tier 3, but
Nope.
my info is outdated too. So okay.
Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, then we got Death and Regeneration. In Alpha 315, players respawn at your home. Okay, we already talked about this. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the medical gameplay stuff. You know, when you're downed, you can wait for someone to revive you. Shall we move on to Get Rich or Die Trier? So Richard Trier was on Star Citizen Live, and first off, I love seeing that dude. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but I do have notes from it that someone else made. So from it, we have changes to release structure and Squadron42. So the PU teams have better expertise at making a feature release ready. Therefore, they want to improve communication between Squadron42 and PU teams. All the character gameplay teams on Squadron42 are being absorbed into the core gameplay pillar. Previously, the team would work on both Squadron42 and the PU. Now the team will work directly on Squadron. So, I guess they're just they're changing some internal structure stuff on how they make the game. And what this changes is now, previously a team would create a feature and deliver it to the PU and Squadron simultaneously, but now they're working on Squadron42. They're working on the feature for that, and they're polishing it for that, and then it gets released to the PU. So instead of doing the whole, we're making 2 games side by side at the same time, so we're making a feature for 2 different games at the same time, we're now making a feature for 1 game and then implement it, which I thought that was the way they were doing it this entire time, but I guess not.
Well, I kind of have a I won't call it a rant, but a long observation on this. If you're...
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I watched it, and the first thought that I had afterwards was this potentially is not good for SC for the PU, but it makes business sense for what Chris Roberts is trying to do with Squadron 42. And the reason I say that is what it seemed to indicate to me is that they are going to focus on gameplay mechanics being implemented for Squadron 42, and then we will, once it's in Squadron 42, then we'll see it rolled out to the PU. And I think that's a bad thing for the PU, because it's gonna mean that they've already put time and effort into whatever they provide to us, and that's gonna make it that much harder if it's not a good mechanic for the PU. And my example that I will point to is turrets. We're on like the current iteration that we have, I want to say, is like iteration number 4 of turrets. And every time they brought out turrets before, they've gone, okay, we think this iteration is the best version that we've come up with. We think this is what we want. And it's been the player community gone, basically avoiding turrets to make them go back to the drawing board and try it again. And I think it'll be that much harder to do if it's a mechanic that's already installed in Squadron 42. Because then they're like, oh man, we really don't want to go in and change this because we've already done this. Like, we've already put, by changing it in the PU, by the input that we're getting from the PU, we're going to have to change it in the PU. That means we're going to have to change it back in Squadron 42, and we don't want to do that because we've already done that. That's what I mean by it'll be harder. I'm not saying it won't happen. I just think it'll be we're going to have a steeper hill as players to push back when we see a mechanic that doesn't work.
No, I actually I agree with that.
So, but on the flip side of that, from Chris Roberts' point of view, I think it makes sense what they're trying to do, which is he really wants to get Squadron 42 out to, kind of justify his existence to the world and, shut up all the naysayers by going, look, here's what I've created. I said I was going to create this and here it is. So, from his point of view, yes, he wants to focus on Squadron 42. So he wants his game mechanics, for Squadron 42. He's not so much worried about the PU because that's going to be a longer term project. So in his mind, what they're doing makes total sense. But from the player perspective, I think it's just gonna mean a harder uphill battle when we encounter mechanics that might work really well for Squadron 42's linear gameplay, but doesn't cross over into multiplayer as well.
Yeah, it also, I think, I agree. I also think it means that it's going to be a longer wait for bug fixes for specific things.
Mm.
Because now it's like, okay, great, now we got to fix it for both games and all that. So, I mean, obviously they do in-house testing, so I'm sure they're going to be aware of some of this stuff. But it does make one worry. I got nothing else. Just makes one worry. I mean, again, I thought that they were doing this already. I thought they were making both one. I thought they were doing Squadron first and then Star Citizen. I didn't realize they were just making it, features for both at the same. I mean, I knew they were doing both for the same time, but I thought it was okay. It goes to Squadron first and then the PU. That's how I thought it was working. But now they're saying that no, that's how we're doing it now. It's like, and what the hell? So I guess it was a clarification, if anything, which is nice. But yeah, I definitely agree that it does raise some concern.
Yeah, I mean, granted, this is now we're in the second week that this has been out. This info has been out, so I've been kind of listening to what the community's been saying, and it seems like the community's pretty split. There's half the camp is kind of like what I'm saying, where hey, PU, we want PU. We're not so worried about Squadron 42. And then
you
there's
have
the
the
other
opposite.
half, yeah, we don't care about PU. We want Squadron 42. And to me, granted, I'm on the PU side, but my argument isn't so much just I want. It's, to me, the PU is going to be the longer term exposed item, in the sense that I think Squadron 42 will come out and people will jump in and it'll have a lot of people playing it. But then, they complete it and they move on. And where do they move on to? They move on to another game, or they move to the PU. And the PU is going to be around for a lot longer. So to me, it's more important that the mechanics work for the PU for that long term than I am if Squadron 42 maybe isn't quite absolutely perfectly polished as it could be. So that's my perspective.
I'm kind of on the side of both. I want both Squadron and Star Citizen, and my concern is, okay, you have a bug. Yeah, exactly what you brought up before, where it's, okay, you have a turrets. They don't work quite as well as I want it to in the PU, which means that that's already been polished for the Squadron. And that's going to work there, and it's like, now they have to fix it. Like, I rather the way they were doing it before, because
working for Squadron, they now have to adjust how it's working,
right,
to meet what we in the P. I do agree that is definitely going to be a major issue there.
Yeah, and their track record has been, roll something out and go, look what we got, everybody like it, and basically the only way that we've been able to get them to change is if we, basically as a whole community kind of go, like you see threads of, small communities going, we don't like this, and they have a tendency not to listen to that until the whole community just says, yeah, we're not using turrets. Like, nobody plays turrets because they're pointless, they don't work. And then that's when they finally go, oh, okay, we'll go back and we'll do it. So now you add on to that resistance of, well, he already installed it in 42, so we don't want to change it.
Yeah.
And it, that's an uphill battle for us. But
And
who knows?
that's my
I
concern.
could be completely wrong. I hope I am.
Well, yeah, that's we should stress. These are just our concerns. We don't know if this is going to be the actual case or not. We have no idea. We're just
absolutely
expressing our concerns on what it might be.
So that's what I walked away with, is just kind of going, yeah, I get why they're doing it, but it scares me a little bit.
Also, the notes here I have, literally says, note, this only affects teams in the core gameplay pillar, so actor feature team, weapon feature team, weapon content team, and actor tech team. So turrets would be affected, obviously, weapons, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not, I hate to use the word easier, but weapons are definitely something that's that is a lot easier to edit versus something like how a ship behaves versus, or an environment or something like that. So.
Right. I agree with that too. This is a limited scope of impact.
So it's like, okay, as a weapon, we can, just change the number. Because hell, I started modding Halo 3 recently, and, just change a number here and there, and then the thing now starts to fire, 20 rounds a second versus the 10 rounds it does by default. So easily edit sometimes when it comes to like weapons and stuff. Because now the real question is, changing that weapon, does it now mean they have to change everything else that's related to that weapon?
That's something I didn't clarify also, is that you think about it, like what they're saying they're going to be doing is they're coming out with a mechanic, and it's going to be already tied into other things. Whereas, the examples that they used before they would just throw a mechanic out, but it wasn't tied to anything. So that's why, and that's their reasoning, was players were looking at it going, yeah, that's great, but it doesn't do anything because it wasn't tied to anything. And now, if it's tied to other things already, that's that much harder for your tweaks to be effective, or more increased chance of you make a change to that mechanic, and how many other problems does that cause to the tied in items?
Yep.
So who knows? Maybe next year they'll kind of, they'll realize, oh, hey, maybe we need to change it up.
Or for all we know, this thing's going to be like amazing and actually do a lot of good stuff, and we're just catching for no reason. So
work right out of the box first time.
Something like that.
Crossing fingers. But yeah,
hopefully.
But I think it was good for them to actually, say that, though. Like that they came out and gave us that show was a good thing.
Yeah. Regardless, it was a good show because it gave us, hey, look, this is what we're doing behind the scenes.
Yep, exactly.
Also, Richard Trier is just so they actually go into saying how this is going to affect the roadmap. They say that progress tracker will have no changes, and the release view will have significant changes as features need to be more polished before release. So expect delays, but better content. So in other words, according to them, this might mean that tier 0 implementations of features might actually be more polished and less buggy. Maybe, according to this new style.
Maybe.
I don't know about buggy, but polished.
I mean, that's what they're implying, but yes, it's.
Yeah. I think it's good from the perspective of like, so you bring out trolleys, and then you have that already tied into, the players being able to put an inventory item on top of it, and it stays there and it doesn't.
Still can't do that, by the way.
Doesn't rattle them off. Like, that's cool. I'm down with that.
All right, like you can actually use items as opposed to them having minds of their own. Seriously, those trolleys, man, are freaking possessed.
Yep.
Let's see.
To kill you with.
And because it's Richard Trier, he also did talk about healing and inventory stuff. So new healing and inventory mechanics will be discussed in the next 2 ISCs. At the time this came out, we already got it. We just covered that one of them, but the next one comes out this Thursday. So I will be offline Thursday, so I won't be able to watch it I'll be able to watch it Friday though. So that's there. But they just talked about a lot of stuff coming to 3.15, and how they said it. Well, what did they say? It was the biggest changes to the PU since 3.0, which is not entirely inaccurate. You know what I mean? Like it's arguable. You know, you can say, hey, this is the biggest change to Star Citizen since being able to land on a planet. Which
So what was 3.0?
3.0
What
was being able to land on a planet or on
Was
a moon.
it planetary? Okay.
Yeah. Remember when you and I both had textureless moons?
Yeah, I just don't. I didn't remember which when it came in exactly as far as specific numbers, but that's a pretty high bar they're setting, if that's the case, because that was huge.
That was huge, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was where you really to me, for the first time, you really saw what Chris Roberts was trying to achieve with the PU and having a whole system be a sandbox from, literally like their video, from the guy standing on the ground all the way up in, to the sun.
To the what? Cut up.
To the sun.
Oh.
That whole, remember that video they had where the guy's standing on the surface looking up and it goes from his eyeball and the camera just keeps pulling back and pulling back, and you had the terrain, the mountains, and then you
what we
saw
need to
the
do?
curvature of the moon.
We need to recreate that.
Yeah.
I'd love that, and that's the thing about Star Citizen, which is amazing, is that, like, when I say, we need to recreate that, a player can easily just, record some footage and recreate that in the game without, going into, some developer mode or something, or opening console commands. Like, no, they can do that.
Yeah.
Just pan the camera around, fly literally from one location to another. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of editing, but you can do it. Actually, it won't take any editing, because the whole point is you get a seamless... So there's going to be a lot of time. It's going to be hours worth of footage.
I think the hardest part will be getting the correct angle of your ship as it's flying away to get the the proper cinematic angles.
Yeah.
But
and if you're going to pan the camera around.
Well, I mean, if you just keep drawing back, aim your butt end towards the sun and then just keep flying backwards.
Yeah.
From planetary surface all the way up. But yeah.
Or down.
Or down.
Or all the way around.
Sideways. But yeah, that's...
You guys are so inclusive.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that what we're supposed to be nowadays?
No, we're supposed to be exclusive, right?
I mean, only if you're Sony.
And Nintendo.
Yeah, but Nintendo, it's a little different, I think, because they own...
They earned it, right?
They created those IPs. Sony is exclusive with IPs that they don't even own.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for maybe later if we have time. So we got the roadmap up. Well, first we got the monthly report. We already talked the roadmap update. We got the monthly report for Star Citizen of August. And it's actually not as long as I expected it to be. AI, they pretty much just modified some usables so that NPCs can actually use objects in the game. They also did a previs. So they did begin on a dealer who is a mobile vendor that players can buy and sell one or two handed items from. So like weapons and tools and whatever you need two hands to use.
Taco truck.
Pedal truck. That's what we need.
I want it to be a taco truck.
That too.
Too bad.
Hell, you know what? We already have the trolleys, right? I mean, it's the same tech. In terms of physically moving it around the verse, it's the same tech. Just put shit on it. And have it not...
I meant just like as the mobile salesman type, like the guy in the taco truck who just suddenly shows up on a moon surface, near you, and pulls up like, "Hey, you want some tacos? No? Okay, moving on."
So pretty much the My Cabbages guy from Avatar. No, but what we need?
Remember that.
My cabbages.
Thank you, Kim. You know what else we would need? We need the guy who has the trench coat that has everything. Like, so you want some watches?
Yeah.
You want the
Hey,
widow?
kid, come over here.
Exactly. All right, I got some watches on this side. I got on my sleeve. I got some Moby glasses. I got some. I got some booze here. I got some this. Got some that. Pulls up his leg. I got some stuff here too.
I've got a Grimhex made butterfly knife and Chinese throwing stars.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What more could I ever ask for?
Yep.
Best Christmas present ever. Yeah, so that's the AI stuff. AI content. AI feature team improved visual perception by adjusting the AI FOV for stealth. So AI can now see better. And the NPCs set up to use missile turrets. That's either going to be awesome or hell. Or both.
Probably
AI,
both.
Probably both.
So you'll probably see them T-posing at the weapon until they see you, and then all of a sudden they instantly turn on and just annihilate you.
No, it's gonna be like how you see AIs in turrets, where like they're outside the turret with their arms like stretching behind their bodies in like this, Mr. Fantastic way. Where they're reaching the controls. It's gonna be like that, probably.
Shall see.
AI tech, we got improved the Pathfinder system to work with planetary tiles. In other words, this is the same tech. This is also on the Squadron42 monthly update. So both Squadron and Star Citizen now have AI. They're working on AI that can actually navigate and traverse planetary surfaces. Because the AI was just not built for walking around the planetary surface, apparently. But it's okay, because now they are. Or now they're being worked on. They also got a feature delivered this month, allows the player to lead a formation of AI ships. Hey!
As far as that
Those will be
ground tech
interesting.
goes, I think a good example of that will be for people who are wondering. Think about the bunker missions. Like once they have this tech in place, then you'll have AI actually like wandering around outside the bunker.
Right, it'll
So
be
you're
on the
not-
surface, not just inside the bunker in a man-made structure.
Right.
I should note that the formation of AI ships that a player can lead, it starts the Squadron42 monthly update for AI tech. They're working on not only the player being able to lead AI ships, but I think was giving them commands as well. So, like really lead a fleet of AI ships. But because Squadron, you're gonna be a player in a world of AIs versus Star Citizen, it's a player in a world of players and AIs. So,
I wonder if they're going to go to some type of like voice to text type thing, because you think about it, like you're in your Gladius, and you're monitoring all your MFDs, and you're flying, lead, and you're in combat, and now you need to give, commands to other AI. Like, how are you going to implement that command while you're in the heat of combat? Like, does that mean you got to take your eyes off the screen to like go look at an MFD, or bring up your Moby glass to scroll down and select flank right? Or is there needs to be some way that you can use like the FOIP and actually speak your command as you would in a real combat situation, in a fighter jet,
yeah.
over the comm system.
Well,
So
we do know they're
I'm
working.
just curious how they're going to do that.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of how they would, and remember, they are working on their own voice attack style system. Maybe it's for that. Or maybe that's part of the reason why they're developing. Like, so that you can give AI voice commands. For anyone who doesn't know, voice attack is a third-party application that you can get and use in Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous, and I think another game, right? Or is it just them? Anyway, the voice attack is pretty much you can program it.
You can configure it for almost any game, because you do it outside the game, as long as there are typed commands that you can put in for in the game. you can do it with voice attack.
And what it is pretty much you give in a command. You give it commands via voice. And so if you're flying your ship and you're under attack, you can literally tell. You can have a command in your ship that's programmed to when you say shields up, and then that's when your forward shields are now increased power and all that. So you can give it specific command based on vocal input.
Shields left, shields right.
Yeah. You can even say something silly, like a code phrase that makes or just gibberish, and that command would then probably be, or literally the word gibberish can be a command if you want. You can say gibberish and your ship will do something. I don't know what, because you're the one doing it.
Yeah, it's a very flexible system. You can basically program to do almost anything you want, and you can even have it so that you have you need to say the name, like give your computer system a name, so it won't respond if you're talking in chat with other people on a Discord unless you say like, Bert, turn on the weapons, and then it'll recognize that you're speaking specifically to it, and then it'll turn your weapons on.
So yeah, we got that. We have animation. Next up on the monthly is animation, and that is vendors for illegal goods, food, drink, and other items for the Pyro system, the Pyro Star system.
That's your watch seller.
We got progress. Hold on a sec. Right. Got progress with the overall medical behavior, including Patreon previs videos, hospital healing functionality, and related usables. Pretty much all the stuff that's going to be in 3.15 worked on in August, including drunk locomotion for status changes. Character art team, we got finalized several new backpacks.
I just had an idea.
Yeah.
So, medical gameplay, what happens if you don't have any money?
And
you're back in the hospital.
I heard a thought for both that and also too because as it is right now with any player generated missions, like, hey, my ship blew up, can someone pick me up and take me to wherever? You as the player decide, hey, I'm going to pay $1,000, AUEC, or 1 AUEC, or 50,000 AUEC, whatever. You as the player are deciding the price of that. One idea that I saw to make medical missions a bit more money making, and to get people to test it, but to incentivize people taking these riskier missions, because you don't know if it's a trap or something like that, is that we as players would have medical insurance, because we've seen that there's insurance desks and stuff at the hospital, and the insurance would pay for your rescuer to come out and get you, and then you as a player, you could offer like a tip on top of that. Like, hey, thanks for helping me out here. Here's an extra 1,000 or whatever for saving my ass. But if you are just flat broke, but you're up on your insurance, then that your insurance is what covers that. And maybe even they'll make it in the future without insurance. Maybe you can't put out a beacon, or maybe it would be like an unverified beacon, or have some caveat that, hey, this is not an insured beacon. We can't guarantee you payment or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it like from the perspective of like, what if you're out of funds? You got rescued, but you used all your funds just to get rescued. But now you wake up on the bed and it's like, hey, you've got 43,000 credits worth of medical coverage that repairs that you need now that you're here, and that's where you don't have the money. What kind of mechanic would they have in place to like? To me, I could see I'd be perfectly okay with like, okay, you don't have this money, but here's what's going to happen. All, we're going to heal you up, but now, basically, any money that you make, we're going to take 15% off the top every transaction that you get. Off. Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I could see something like that.
Just because like when it comes to ships and equipment and all that kind of stuff, I like that's a totally different category. But to me, if somebody didn't have money and therefore the game wouldn't allow you to heal them, now you're actually like turning people away from the game,
Yeah.
potentially. So that's why I think it would require some kind of specialized consideration of how they're going to handle that. That's why I asked the question.
Well,
I recognize
too,
for everything else.
You might also have it to where let's say it's like, okay, hey, I've got the insurance here, and I'm paying the insurance until
Right.
I'm out of money. Maybe your insurance would have, or maybe tiers of insurance would have it like, hey, if you get to the point where you got really fucked up here, your medical bill is 200,000. I'm just pulling a number out of my ass here. I don't think it would be
Yeah.
anywhere near that high, but let's just say for the sake of argument, it's like 200,000. Like, I've got like $10,000 to my name. Maybe your tier of insurance will cover a over and above cost 1 time, 2 times, 3 times until those negative effects to the point where, hey, we're going to actively be siphoning from every single transaction, every single legal transaction you make, we're going to siphon 15% off of there to pay off your debts. Maybe you would have like an additional, like some tiers of insurance would cover those overages and to say, we'll eat that cost for you once, but after that, or like once in a month, like real time. But after that, hey, you better fucking pay us, otherwise, we're going to be taking 20% of every single amount you get.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. A basic feature that's just like, it's the, quote unquote, act of God, shit happened one time.
Yeah, because it's like, shit's gonna
coverage. Yeah, but if you're a consistent failure to pay, then maybe, there's legal ramifications that start to happen. So that way, if a player, go ahead.
On a similar note, my internet plan, it has a thing where it's like, hey, you've got like 1.2 terabytes of data you can use. After you go over that, it's going to be $10 for every 50 gig on top of that you use. So if you use 50 gig, within 50 gig over that, it's $10 extra. If you're within 100 gig over top, that's $20, up to a maximum of $30 additional there. But the first time you go over in a year, they go, hey, no worries, it's covered.
Yeah, and as long as you go another year without it, get back to your one time, hey, something happened crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. It just that while you were talking about that stuff, Mando, that thought crossed my mind. Like, what do you do if you're out of money? So.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because
considered.
Yeah, because you don't have any money, you're not really gonna be able to do a whole lot.
Yeah, and then your game, as an actual player, as they say in the D&D world, out of character, you're going, fuck, I can't play this game because I don't have any money and I need to heal. What? So there's gonna have to be something there.
Totally. Just for a gameplay perspective, they're gonna have to make something that essentially, I have no money. Now what do I do? And then you see these new options open up because you're broke. Similar to how, okay, now you have a crime stat. What do I do? Because crime stat limits for what you can do. Now you have new options opening up because you have a crime stat. Same thing with when you're in prison. Obviously, when you're not in prison, you can't do any of the stuff in prison, so
you're out of money, you wake up, and suddenly there's an option to take a job cleaning all the bedpans in the hospital for the next 3 months.
Only the bedpans, though. Eventually, you move up the toilet. So you got the finalized new backpacks, reworking existing backpacks previously attached to armor cores to make them individual modular items. Finally. So like the yellow rucksack and the backpack for the arrow, the Grey Cat armor, those will now be individual separate items that you can attach to any armor and not just the specific armors that they come with. And obviously this isn't going to be in, but it will be in eventually. That's awesome because this way you can have this giant backpack on your normal armor. And also from Alpha 3.15 onwards, each new armor will come with a backpack in the same style as the modular style versus it's the glued on. So, the ship art team has a yet to be announced ship originally mentioned earlier in the year was completed. What the hell was that ship that they mentioned?
It was obviously the Argo Raft.
Is it inflatable?
Only on Tuesdays.
Redeemer is approaching final art completion, so we might. Odds are we're probably going to see it in Alpha 3.15, which is it's slated for Alpha 3.15. We've got the Hull A white box complete. Hull C is being brought up to gold standard. Crusader A2 Hercules passed final art review. So that's the bomber variant. So that's pretty much done. Or at least the art phase is done. It's close to finished anyway. The Crusader Ares moved through final art. Parts of the Vulture reaching gray box complete. All new vehicle is almost gray box complete. Refueling arm complete on the Misk Starfarer. And 2 unannounced vehicles in gray box review. The engine team has said that they progressed with physical quantum travel, allowing the equivalent of a blind quantum jump and dropout before hitting a moon along the path. Blind quantum jump. We haven't had this since 2.6.
Yep.
So I'm glad that it's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you'll be able to drop out on the fly anytime you're in quantum travel is nice too. Continue Gen 12 renderer progressions. Squadron42, I think they fully moved to the Gen 12 renderer, so that's good. Several improvements underway regarding atmosphere and volumetric clouds for improved GPU performance and visuals. And work done to deliver multiple optimizations for the spatial culling system, which will be used for server meshing. And what culling is essentially it'll be loading. If you're flying around and you see a ship outside, right? It's not going to load the interior of the ship until you're inside it, until you actually start getting in. Because there's no need for it to be loaded in if you're not inside, not looking at any of the windows. Got the features team that focused on polishing new player inventory and actor status features. Although there's a bug, looting a player lets you loot their ship and weapons. So, I know who I'm killing first.
Bob the Necromancer?
No, Chris. If they're saying that polishing new player inventory and actor status features, and there's a bug that lets you loot the player's ships and weapons, I can kill Chris, I can get all of his ships. Delayed body dragging allow you to drag your dead buddy's body onto your ship and bring it back. Perform to reclaim his inventory. Callsign, you could just...
Well, sometimes you guys start talking about stuff and I don't want to interrupt the whole...
No, it's fine because it's relevant.
We're going down one path.
So body, yeah.
So that's the question is, if your buddy, you're on a moon surface and your buddy's gunned down. He's, due to whatever circumstances, basically, he's dead. There's no way that you can get him back or whatever in time, blah blah. So he quits. He's now waking up in Lorville, let's say. The hospital, but with the body dragging mechanics, could you grab his body, drag it onto your cutlass, and fly the body back to Lorville, and he can then get all his equipment off his body, or will the game say no? In order to get his equipment, he's going to have to actually travel all the way back to the spot where he died, and that's where, for him, his body will actually be.
I hope the latter. Or the former, I hope the former, because...
I do too, but it's a question that I'm wondering.
Especially Well, there's also, because think about it, if you, with that feature of, delayed body dragging, where your dead body persists and you can drag that body, well, then yeah, that, first off,
I mean, it would make sense to me, but then I also don't know, what the devs are thinking behind the scenes. So,
well, say also, like, you're in your down state, right? Like, is there going to be a down state where, or is one of the down states going to be where you're kind of just, you're unconscious, right? And your buddies have to drag you onto the ship in order to get you somewhere to get healed?
yeah.
Is that going to be a feature, or are they just going to have it like, no, you'll be able to walk all the time? Because I know they did say you'll be able to walk all the time, but is there going to be a thing where you can...
But it's a 325i. I can't crawl up the ladder.
Sounds like a personal problem.
My legs are broken.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Where we're going, you don't need legs.
But yeah, it was just a thought that popped in my head from earlier about
No, it's a good point.
how we'll be able to get equipment, because I know they want it that, like, if you kill a guy, you should be able to go over and loot his body. But then with that mechanic, it would make sense that his buddy would go, oh no, I'm not going to let you come over and get his body. I'm going to drag him into my ship and take off, and let him get his stuff back. So
essentially, yeah, not leaving your dead behind type thing.
Yeah.
I hope so. Like, I hope that you can just, your buddy's dead, you can take his body with you, and okay, I got all your gear. Start looting your corpse.
Kind of like DayZ style, where somebody goes down, so you grab all his stuff and bring it back to him, or you sit on his body and wait for him to come back.
Right. Either way, you're securing the body. It's persisting, so this way he can come back and collect it, or whichever way you do it, whether you bring it to him or he comes to you.
Yeah. I just think this personal inventory system that we're going to be getting is going to change gameplay huge.
Oh yeah. I mean, for starters, I'm going to lose all of my SMGs. I'm serious. I'm going on 6.
You're going to break a server the first time you open your inventory in that new system. So
I hope so.
Warn us before you do.
I will try. No guarantees.
I heard that was it HC Vertigo, who's a big YouTube and or not YouTube but Twitch streamer for Star Citizen. Apparently the guy has like literally total count thousands of weapons, but individually he's got like hundreds of every type of weapon, and he's been known to actually break servers when he tries to access his inventory. So there's talk about what the servers are going to do when he first time tries to open his inventories. We'll see.
Yes, time will tell.
Yeah.
All right,
But,
I
yeah,
gotta head
that's-
out, guys. Sorry about that.
All right, it's all good.
So, yeah.
All right, I'll see you guys
See ya.
on Wednesday.
That was a very Canadian sorry.
Oh, it's all Canadian. Canada's fault anyway. Oh yeah, we got the roadmap. There's a lot of good stuff. Again, we got blind quantum jumping. That bug is going to be an interesting one. Looting dead players and looting their ships and weapons. Improved humanoid and creature skeletons, which probably is going to help for animations and stuff like that. Everything you... Oh, no, wait. When they say skeletons, do they mean animation skeletons, like for character models, or do they mean legitimate skeletons?
Spooky, scary skeleton. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Skeletons, because they will have a full skeleton model in the game for when you're doing medical gameplay.
Or the spooky, scary skeletons.
Right, spooky skeletons. We also have more.
Now, just
knickknacks.
imagine a reanimated Vein Duel skeleton.
Hooray! Wait a minute. Why am I saying hooray to that? That sounds horrifying.
Yeah, not something I want to see.
But yeah, so there's that. Let's see. We also have more work on Jumptown 2.0, where outposts become hyper lucrative. More development on jump points, which is the wormholes that you use to travel from one star system to another. We got supported PU team with refueling.
I'm really hoping that we see the next iteration of wormholes, because it's been, what, 2 years now since we saw the last sitcom that they showed us, the wormhole.
It was
technology.
19. So
I'm hoping that this sitcom, they maybe show us a new and improved version, because that first version was not visually appealing for me. I know it's kind of everyone has their own.
Too organic.
Yeah.
And like watery or something. I don't know. It just did not look good.
It needs an improvement.
It didn't have like you're flying through like a tunnel of energy, of quantum energy. Yeah, like the quantum travel looks great. I wanted it to be something along that.
Too much worm in the wormhole.
It reminded me of the alien worm things in the Abyss, the water.
It reminded me of Stargate.
Really? I did not get that.
Well, not the tunnel, but the portal itself.
Oh, like the exterior station type.
That too, but also like the portal itself, like it looked like water, like it had like a watery effect.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it didn't look like. It didn't look like energy. It looked like a liquid.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I'd also
gateway.
love to see them kind of explain more about the wormholes in general. Just, like some of the stuff that I know we've talked in the past, but like how many ships can fit in it at a time? Is it going to be like a stoplight thing where, one ship can go from point A to point B and everyone else is waiting, and then one ship goes from point B to point A? Or, can you fit a crack in the middle one? Yeah. What happens? Do ships pass each other? Like all those kind of questions. It'd be nice to have a little more info on.
Indeed. But yeah, so all it says here is that they're just developing them, which honestly we already do. So there's that. Next there's the graphics and VFX programming teams, and they've improved the render to texture system, dynamically rendered texture caches, and improved Gen 12 renderer. Shadow and real-time probe systems will be activated soon, and improved GPU particles and fire hazards, including like the fire propagation systems and stuff like that.
Also think mirrors.
Yeah. Because they are working on real-time reflections in the game. Speaking of reflections, lighting. They focused on, for Alpha 315, Pyro and Orison. 315, Pyro and Orison, they focused on lighting. And made a pass on setting for Pyro's planets and moons, the lighting pass for that. Narrative team worked on a new missions, organizations, gameplay scopes, along with medical gameplay. Developed content for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2951, which is this November, right? Late, like November 20th or so. Usually when it is, so. And then we've got preliminary work on a new mission type and a narrative pyro content. So, and narrative team, work alongside the gameplay teams and mission teams. So all the missions have lore and stuff like that. Systemic services, we got work on Quantum, the economy and AI simulation tech, which is being worked on by Tony Z, which is pretty much going to be like the back-end tech for everything later on. Work began on NPC tracker between servers, which I assume is going to help with server meshing especially. Turbulent has been working on milestone for matchmaking and server meshing projects. So we'll see how that works. And improvements made to crash handling.
Crazy question.
Yeah.
Does anyone know what a main sequence flare M star type means as for the type of lighting that it puts out?
Not a fucking clue.
Given how I don't think we've ever, humanity's never been to one, so.
Okay. Well, you were talking about that they said they're working on the lighting pass for
Yep.
Pyro system, and it made me wonder if they're actually going to treat the lighting by the type of sequences that stars are. In other words, like,
I
you know,
hope
if
so.
it's a red dwarf, does that mean that, you know, when you're in that system, you get that predominantly red glare? Or, you know, if it's one of those bright kind of blue stars, is it a blue light? Like, I haven't heard them say anything about that.
I have not the answers to that question, but I do know that I hope so.
As Cam would say, re.
Give us your old re. Best re you give.
Okay. Just a thought I had when you're reading that.
Yeah, I honestly have no freaking. I have no freaking clue.
So I looked up Pyro system, and it just says that it's a main sequence flare M, but it doesn't tell me what that is. So that's why I asked.
You can Google search it, I'm sure.
That's what I did. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
How dare you? First of all,
Research? Oh man.
What is this
we don't do
research?
that. We search.
What I hate is when you go into like a store for something and you've done your research and you start asking like specific questions about a product, and they like basically go and do the same exact research that you've done, and they're supposed to be the experts, and you're like, dude, I did my research before I came and asked you. Like, come on, man.
What
You're
are you
supposed to be
doing?
the
Yeah,
go-to.
exactly. It's like,
Second
what are
of
you?
all, how dare you?
What are you getting paid for that I'm not?
Yeah.
Pineapples.
Okay, so apparently a M-type main sequence star is a red dwarf.
Okay.
Unless that's what they want you to think.
No, I think that. I mean, it could be, but
Smallest and coolest of stars.
the coolest of stars, yo.
Yo.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. Hum hum.
Yum yum.
Okie doke. Sorry, didn't mean to sidetrack
No,
us.
no, it's fine. I keep distracting myself with a project I'm working on the side. So we got the vehicle team last, and then the VFX team. So the vehicle team's just finishing touches on radar scanning and ping refactors, and then VFX they revisited the signed distance field shields. So they're probably doing a probably not doing that, but they're probably doing a visual pass over the SDF shield tech, and they're working on ship wake effects for displacing surface and dust and snow when ships fly over surfaces, as well as VFX passes for the A2 Hercules and S7 weapons, because those are new.
More weapon.
We did not talk about last week's ISC, did we? Or not last week. We already talked about that. The ship trip one, the one where they talked about the Redeemer, right?
Hmm?
So the Redeemer was showed off in one of the.
No, they
ISCs.
didn't do a show last week because what's his name was traveling. All we got was the Tyrer show.
Huh. All right, but what about the? No, two weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago we got. I see the ship trip one where they showed off all the different ships the Vulture was working on. They were working on.
Oh, that okay. I thought you were talking about just like last week.
No. So here I'm gonna put the footage on the screen so people can see it. Pretty much, they talked about the Vulture, how it's getting. We already mentioned in the monthly report that it's pretty much just getting completion in the gray box. But the Vulture's now, it's being worked on. Hopefully, salvage comes along with it, assuming we get it soon. True to the original concept, split deck and dual entry methods to the pilot seat. Somewhat sketchy, fitting the Drake design language and aesthetic. So the Vulture is going to be true to form from the concept art.
Well, he was talking about if you try and get in it from the side, you can still get in it from the back, which will be like normal.
Yeah, the main ramp in the back is still going to be exit. You can fit like a freaking. Did they? How wide is it? Is it going to be able to fit an Ursula, or is it just a Cyclone?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Bye.
I don't think it's going to be meant to be that big, so I'm thinking probably Cyclone.
Probably
but
Cyclone.
I would be surprised if it fit a Ursa.
Also, it will come online next year, the Vulture, along with the first iteration of ship-based salvage. So there you go. I answered my own question.
And also, I mean, that amount of space that's back there is actually meant for what you salvage. So, you know,
right, but honestly,
I think a lot of people are looking at the ship and going, "Oh, look at how much space there is back there," and not realizing, yeah, that's the space that you're expected to fill up, not bring along your Ursa rover.
Right, like the Reclaimer has that giant cargo area where you're gonna put all your junk when you're salvaging.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Like that room isn't gonna be like storing vehicles or anything like that. It's gonna be storing all this scrap and crap that you've collected from salvaging.
Yep.
We also have the Ares, Inferno, and Ion variant are moving into the final art phase. You know, we talked about that already. I think they got a review pass in the monthly update because the monthly update came out last week. We got the Gladius hit gold standard in 3.14. Saber will get the gold standard treatment in 3.15. More about gold standard ships at CitizenCon, so they're probably gonna have a whole panel on, you know, like what the hell is gold standard and what they're trying to achieve there. The Aegis Redeemer is pretty much almost complete. Currently moving to the final cleanup phase. You can see some footage of the Redeemer. No, not here. Redeemer's it's a fan favorite. I'm personally not a fan, but I don't think.
Say that again. What?
The Redeemer. It's like everyone loves it. I personally don't. I just don't see why everyone loves it.
I personally, I'm not a fan of the style per se, but I think people are looking at the I'm not going to try and put words in people's mouths, but I think what I see is that, you know, I'm not a fan of the style. However, I can see it being a very powerful ship because, I mean, that's got a turret on the back, an unmanned turret on the back, an unmanned turret on the nose, and then 2 manned turrets
on the top and bottom.
One on top and one on the front bottom. So, I mean, and that's just turrets. There's also some actual fixed weapons for the pilot. So you look at the amount of space that's inside there, how many seats you got. I mean, that's a lot of firepower, and you can carry a lot of people. So on that level, it kind of makes sense that there'd be some people who are interested in the ship. But me personally, you won't see me buying that ship.
Neither will I. I just it was one of the next great starship. It was literally a fan-made ship, and I thought they were better in that contest.
Yeah,
personally,
I agree.
But
then again, I thought the original concept version of the MISC Freelancer was actually better than what we got now. So.
Yeah. But speaking of the Redeemer, actually has been somewhat redesigned, completely redesigned as well. Really just shares the turret and stuff, but it's now designed as a 4-person gunship instead of the original concept as a dropship gunship. Because the original role that it was made for is pretty much what the Vanguard Hoplite is, and the Vanguard Hoplite does it a whole lot better. So. CIG's words, by the way. Anyway, the sprint report included 3 weapon concepts for manufacturer Vault, which is the Electron weapon manufacturer. So we're getting an Electron SMG, an Electron LMG, and a laser sniper rifle from them, which would be the second laser sniper rifle in the game, assuming it comes out before any other.
So I have a question about this, and I'm not a big weapons person, so I don't do research into them or anything, but is there any word on, is it going to be that like you have a setting on the weapon that allows you to do lethal and non-lethal, or
I have no idea
non-lethal
because
only, or
they haven't said themselves yet, so I have no idea.
okay, check.
Like
Electron, I'd like it to be both.
Yeah, Electron I think is supposed to be both non-lethal and lethal, but I don't know how. Maybe it's probably going to be like an alternate firing mode. Obviously,
That's what I'd like to see. What I guess what I'm getting at is, what I don't want to see is one gun that is only non-lethal and then another gun
I hope
that
not.
is only lethal. Like, to me, that just,
yeah,
especially
I don't want to
with
see
the
that.
way inventories are going. You know,
Yeah,
you're going to be limited on capacity, so you're not going to want to have to carry 2 guns that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Anyways.
Yeah, because like the ASKEV, whatever, the Electron sniper rifle that we currently have in the game, it's a really good weapon. Like, you can kill in one, you know, it's 5 rounds per battery, but it's a decent weapon. It's very lethal, and I don't want to have to carry that and another long range weapon, leaving me with no short range weapons because I have my lethal and non lethal long range. So
yeah,
I'd rather have now I got my lethal and non lethal long range, and then I got my short range.
And the other thing I would comment is, seeing these weapons, I would really, really like to see some skins, because I do not want to be running around with blue.
I was about to say, the blue
yellow
is such a turnoff, especially when you look at the ASKEV sniper rifle. You know, it's got like a wood stock. It's a nice, it's a nice gunmetal gray. It's a good looking weapon. Whereas here, it's just personally way too.
To me, it's not even about the aesthetics of it. It's about the camouflage. Like,
no, that's what I mean. Like, it's
gotcha.
The coloration of that gun looks really. It looks like a futuristic version of like an old school hunting rifle. You know, with the wood stock and all, in like a gunmetal gray barrel. Whereas here you have these blue, which does not really. At least, if they sell them at a gun shop, I'm totally going to be asking, does it come in black?
Yeah, or just a subdued color where, like, maybe I don't have bright orange.
Does it come in glowing yellow?
Yeah, I want neon yellow or green, preferably.
Give me some hot pink.
Oh, I don't want to go down the Hello Kitty, Star Kitty,
Start getting weapons.
wormhole.
Wasn't even going there.
There will be those out there who want it.
Oh yeah. They also talked about testing laser trip mines will be used in derelict missions. So laser trip mines are going to be implemented in derelict missions. You can see the footage on screen right now. It's gonna be pretty cool. Obviously, players will eventually get them, and we'll be able to use them ourselves. We talked about it a while ago, and how, like, what would we do? Like, are they gonna make we were questioning how they're going to look, like, is the laser going to be visible and setting them, all that. So we have a visual implementation of them right here, and this is how they look.
One thing I will say on that is, so from a mechanics perspective, I don't think you should be able to see that light beam. I think it should be just like you see in like corner stores that have that little the door trigger when you cross the beam as you walk in. It does the door chime
where it's an invisible infrared or something like that.
Well, some of those are just a little light beam, and all you're doing is you're breaking the light beam, and that's what activates it. It just has a little sensor that says, "Is light shining on me? Yes or no?" But my point is that's light, but we can't see it. In a tactical sense, I would not want my tripwire mine to be visible, the tripwire to be visible, On the flip side of that,
It's a game.
as a player, oh god, that's just going to be painful because it's going to be, if you can't see that tripwire, we're going to be stumbling all over those things. We're going to be constantly blowing up, and with the health system in, oh man, talk about delay of gameplay. Like, you're going to spend more time going to and from hospitals than anything else with those tripwires.
So, what's your nickname? Stumbling Joe. Why do they call you that? Keep stumbling on trip mines.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you think about it from a gameplay perspective. Like, it's cool to have them. Like, if you're the person setting them up, that's a really cool thing to have. But then flip it around. If you're the person who's having to go into these wrecks and you have no way of detecting him other than going really, really slowly and really examining everything around you, your gameplay just went out the window, because now you're like, I don't want to go to that wreck because I'm going to spend 45 minutes just trying to get through it just because I don't want to blow up. So, then the question is, okay, we need some kind of detection system. All right, well, how does that work? Like, is it proximity? Is it like you get a visual cue when you're within a certain distance? Like, it gets kind of, there's a reason why Arma doesn't have a whole lot of mines.
Yeah.
Like, they have it, so those who really want to deal with it can utilize it. But in general gameplay, you won't see it. And if it is there, once you've discovered it, you look on a map, it's clearly identified for anyone coming along. So I'm just curious what their plan of attack is in the PU for that.
You can make the argument, oh, here's sci-fi versus military sim, but I'm on the same page as you are. I don't want to be able to see the laser. I wanted it to be something like, as you mentioned, with the storefront.
Yeah, it's just invisible. But then, how much does that slow down your gameplay of going out to that wreck and salvaging?
We can spend an hour trying to, kind of design, like, okay, how would you figure out, like, how do you tell the player that there's a mine here visually, or even with audio, without showing them directly there's a laser trip mine that you can see.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's ways of doing it. I just don't feel like spending an hour trying to get into how.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I'm curious what they're thinking on that process is. Just as a, I wonder if they're addressing that now and they already have ideas, or is that going to be something that we're going to see in like iteration 2 or 3? So.
Probably iteration. At
see.
the moment, it looks like it's a laser that doesn't necessarily. It almost looks similar to the like a more powerful version of the underbarrel laser attachment.
Yeah,
for the guns.
Like an actual laser pointer.
Right. So, again, it is first implementation. They're probably doing it just so, hey, we need you guys to test these out and all that.
Yeah, and what we're seeing, that might just be, hey, we're testing, so we wanted that beam to be visual so we could fly the boxes through it. And, the real iteration that they have is it's invisible. So,
they could easily do both. Especially with Star Citizen, they can easily have, okay, here's the one that has the visual laser and here's one that doesn't. And, and they can have variations of different trip mines based on.
Or maybe it's even just a setting on the mine that you as the player can set.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Just thought that was worth mentioning. So yeah, they're also Sprint Report. We also got the Cousin Crow's whatever shop thing. It's an Orison ship shop, and it's an early white box.
It's going to be like a customization shop, from what I understand. So
okay. So is this going to be like
They're in lore as being, I guess they worked on a certain ship. I don't remember which one it is, but they worked on a certain ship, and because of that, the UE Navy actually had them doing special modifications.
Okay.
On a specific type of ship. I don't remember which one, but that's kind of how they got their foot in the door and got their name out there. And
Gotcha.
now they're a public company that's like basically they're going to be the ones that when you have a like a grade A component, that's supposedly grade A. We don't. This is past CIG talk, so they may change it. But it used to be that if you had a grade B or A component, not only was that the best in the series, but it would also allow you additional slots on the component for like
For
add-on
subcomponents.
stuff. Yeah, for subcomponents. So think of that's what Crows is going to be. Is you take your grade A shield emitter and you say, hey, I want this specialized couple of subcomponents added to it, and that would be the kind of stuff that they do.
All right, I was gonna ask if this is gonna be like the place you'd go for installing a new module into your ship.
I don't know. I don't know specifically, but I do know they also are going to be into doing the paints. So that's where I believe you're going to get your paint jobs done.
Okay.
But that's a good question about the modules. I don't know, but to me that would make sense.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That was my first thought. Like, oh, this makes sense. This would be the place where you go to get your modules installed for your ship. Like, you're going to take your Vanguard to replace, the Sentinel module with the Warden module or something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like retaliators. And
Exactly.
all that stuff.
Exactly. Maybe they sell the modules as well.
I'm okay with that, but at the same time, I kind of don't want that to be 100% business driven, in the sense that I would like the ability to do some stuff in my own hangar.
Oh no, I agree with that. I was just saying that maybe you could do that here.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I got to drop. See you guys.
All right, see ya.
Okay. Yeah, I would. I'm down with, like, as long as they give us both those options. That would be the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Hey,
Because
you don't want to waste the time. Yeah, take it over to them and pay for it.
exactly. Because if everything's going to be
you do it.
physicalized in the world, you'd have to move that out and all that. I don't know how they're gonna how that's gonna play out gameplay wise, but obviously it would take time. You have to actually do it. Versus, oh hey, I can just hire these people or pay these people to do it for me, and they're professionals and they're really good, top notch. So yeah, exactly. It gives you options, and options are a player's best friend. That needs to be on a T-shirt. I'm going to do that right after this show.
I installed my Warden module 3 times, and every time I turned it on, my wiring shorted out. So this time I'm taking it to them. Yeah.
You know what? It's funny because you say that, but I've had that happen to me once when I was messing with my Jeep. I was installing a hardcover top once. And like the tail lights wouldn't work, but then I was like, oh right, it was an easy fix, but it was just like a funny thing, like, hey, this didn't work.
Funny story about that. My best friend in high school, he got his hands on a VW Beetle, and it was in really bad shape. So we basically tore it down, and this took about a year. We tore that thing down literally to nuts and bolts and jars, and then rebuilt the whole thing, and couldn't get it to run, and like just tried, and
Nice.
it wouldn't run. So finally, we both left home, and he ended up giving the Beetle to his little brother, who was just going into high school at the time, and I remember we both came back home, and I went over to visit him, and his brother's driving around in the Beetle, and he's like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "Oh, I just had to replace a couple of wires." And my friend was just,
how hard did he kick himself?
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's all it was. Oh man, we thought it, because we had thought like there's something wrong with it.
That's pretty much the exact same problem I have with the Jeep. Where it's like literally, oh, this one plug wasn't plugged in all the way near the feet in the back seats. It's like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I currently
It's
have
always
a
electrical.
soft cover top on it. I had to actually I replaced. It's a new soft cover top. I had to replace it because it had holes,
Yeah.
and because just if it had holes, it means when it rains. Yes, the Jeep does have a drain in it, but that doesn't fix the seats being all wet.
Yep.
Those things are fucking sponges.
Yeah. You never want to spill a any kind of coffee with milk in it or cream in a car, especially on car seats, because it will never smell the same again after a nice hot summer.
Honestly, I try not to drink it all in a car, at least not water. Anything that's not water.
Yeah.
I can get in the car. Just because, like, yeah, water, it's not gonna stain. It's not gonna leave a bad smell. I mean, it might, depending on how the thing that's getting wet smells.
Well, totally off topic. If you go over to Europe, none of their cars have. Or
I
well,
like
can't
how
say
that.
this
I
now,
like that
but,
segue. So, smell Europe.
At least as of like 10 years ago, you could not find a cup holder in a European-made car, and if you asked, people would just look at you like you're crazy. Like, why would you have a drink in your car? Like, you just don't do that. Like, it just, as an American, you're just totally like, oh wow, yeah, okay,
Because we're
that's
always
something
moving.
totally different.
We're always on the go.
Yeah, but so they don't have that problem. Whereas, we always have these dirty, nasty cup holders from our drink spilling over.
Yeah. Thankfully, I clean my car regularly. Yeah.
Well, that would put you in the minority, I think.
Oh, totally would.
It
totally would. But then again, I have no choice. I'm using a over 20-year-old Jeep.
Yeah.
If I don't take constant care of it, it will not work.
True. How did we get here? Anyways.
Cousin Crows, and then maybe say, maybe they'll have like a body shop, and yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be an Orison chip shop. It's gonna be cool. Hit play on the screen there. So we also get Crusaders Showroom is in the white box. That you're no, that's Cousin Crows that you're seeing. But
yeah, the
showroom.
The showroom thing, I mean, it's cool, but I'm kind of like, why are you guys wasting time on this? Like, it's not essential, but like
I guess you can make the argument.
See how? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I guess you can make the argument that it's essential to that city and to the world building of Orison.
Right. And that's what I was just gonna say. Is like I could see it for the ambiance of immersion in the game. But at the same time, a part of me says, like,
why?
What is this doing for game mechanics? Like, to me, we should be in the game mechanics mindset right now, for the phase of game that we're in. But I've also heard the argument, about other topics like this, which is, hey, maybe they got a team that's standing idle and they need to keep them busy. So this was something that they're doing, and okay,
like maybe they finished everything that they're supposed to do for this quarter or whatever, and then they finished their CitizenCon stuff, so now they're just burning time or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or
like,
this
is a case
this is where they're trying out the new talent,
right? Or yeah, exactly. Maybe it's like the new team, or maybe it's being done on the side, right? Like. Yeah. Honestly, it's a case of we don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, so just chalk it up to that.
Yeah.
New lighting.
So it's cool they're doing it, but I'm not excited.
I think it's great. I think it is definitely it's a necessity of Orison as a location. I do think that. But it's just
part of the immersive experience.
It's just that it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be prioritized over gameplay. Agree. Also.
Yeah.
We also got new lighting states added to all the in-game habitation modules, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. It's, this way you can turn the lights off in your room, essentially. Which my first thought
cool.
when I first saw this, though, it is cool. But my first thought was when I saw this, it's kind of like, wait, I can't even get back into my apartment at some locations once I leave. How am I supposed to? What good is turning the lights on?
True. Good point.
But then they showed off the so like they
The
made me go like
exteriors.
they showed the glass window shader for fake room shader that brings the buildings to life, and you can see that right now. And I saw that and I'm just like, oh man, this looks really cool.
Yeah, this is okay. So I totally agree, and I also agree that this is where I am. I don't know how to properly say it, but like I just said, I don't care about the showroom, and why
And then it's like, but I care about this.
But this thing, I'm like, yeah, totally. They should be doing this.
I guess it's just because like it looks so good that you just can't deny it. You know, it's like.
And I think also it's that it's an effect that everybody sees. It's not something that you got to go travel to.
No, it's going to be in
sense of, like-
every. I mean, I imagine they're showing off just Crusader and Orison right now, but I imagine this
it'll
is
be
going to
New
be at
Babbage
every
and
building in the game.
Area 18. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be in every. Imagine, oh man, this is going to make my screenshots for Area 18 and our corp as a whole just look so much better.
Yeah.
Like, this looks so good. It looks pretty much realistic to an extent. Like, it's.
Yeah.
I love it. Being someone that lives in a overcrowded city with skyscrapers.
I would
that's a lot
also
too.
like to see it like change with time. So in other words, like some of those lights come on until 10 p.m.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just
that's
picking random
kind of
times,
what they
but,
were
you know.
they were talking about that in the ISC,
Oh, okay.
and they show it a little bit where like the different daytime, like day and night, like some of the lights are off, some of the lights are on.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I imagine
You're just
that's
sitting up
the
on your
specifics.
tower looking out,
Yeah,
and you suddenly like something catches your eye. You're not sure what, and then you realize it was like a whole little block of lights went on in one of the buildings.
exactly. And he just showed it off here in one of the footage. Like it's sunset, some of the lights are on, and then like as it gets later, more lights go on.
That's cool.
I like
Yeah, I like it.
imagine that, but with buildings that you can actually enter, and then add the Quanta AI and economy simulation where AI have their own schedules
So-
and actually act as like they have a life. And
So now that we see this, where's the X-rated portion where you're gonna see people getting it on?
against the window.
Mm-hmm. See the secretary going for the raise.
That's what New Babbage is for. Okay.
We can't figure out why everyone is flying Argo cargos around these buildings at night.
It's not even that they're flying. It's like you're just gonna see
They're
a fleet
hovering.
of. They're just hovering. A fleet of Argo personnel variants just hovering in front of a specific building.
Yeah, I can
Like-
totally see that.
Like it's every night at 9:00 on Tuesday. Like what is it? Like some kind of show going on there?
Come on, Chris Roberts, where's our immersion? Anyways,
Yep. So there's that. We also have a player skeleton interface. So the skeleton interface that I mentioned before has been created, allowing players to view and treat injuries when in hospital, so they can see their skeletons. And concept art for cybernetic limbs and how they will interact with clothes. So pretty
I
much,
saw a lot of that stuff, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it. To me, I'm not that big into it. There's a few that they showed up. I'm kind of like, okay. But in general, I was just kind of like,
all right. So are you
prosthetic
seeing
is a
the
prosthetic.
are you seeing the skeleton thing right now on the screen?
Yeah,
So I'm not
yeah.
a
The skeleton
huge.
part, I'm okay with.
I
It's,
love it.
I was mainly,
I love that they're actually modeling a skeleton for the game. I'm not a huge fan of the UI specifically for like you select an arm or the torso. Like I want that area to kind of highlight so you have a visual indication that you're over that thing. Because there
oh,
it's
I
like
see what you're saying. Yeah. So you know what you're selecting.
exactly, because it kind of feels like guesswork when you don't have a visual indication of what you're selecting. Like, because
Well,
you
I
have to.
think
It seems like you
that's
have
kinda
to
what they're
select
showing
it
with
in
those
order to see
lineouts.
what you're selecting. It's not ideal. But this kind of reminds me of the Arma, the Ace medical system. Although,
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
Yep. I'm hoping that personal inventory management kind of looks like that, like
Yeah.
Arma's, paper doll layout.
I think they're kind of going the more blocks, organize the blocks system from
Yeah.
other games, but which I'm fine with. Honestly, as long as it's visually easy to navigate and
Yes,
intuitive.
I agree.
Like, because at the end of the day,
Intuitive,
for an
for me,
inventory
is number
system,
one.
all that really matters is the UI, the menu UI, and the visual interface usable and easy to use and intuitive and easy to look at. Like, it's not a mess. It's not.
I would caveat it. Number one, is it intuitive? In other words, is it like the early iPhones were? You figured out just by using it, you figured out how to use it.
Right.
And then number two, is it quick? Because if it takes time, it's gonna suck in combat.
Gonna suck horribly.
Yeah. So what you're showing on your screen right now with these
So these are the cybernetic
prosthetics.
arms that they have in concept art. So
Yeah.
for those who don't know, Star Citizen is not going to be like a cyberpunk game in the sense that you have, I have cybernetic limbs, I can mod myself, up the wazoo with cybernetic arms and stuff. No, so it works more like you only get a cybernetic limb if you need it. Like if your arm cannot be repaired at all, you get a cybernetic replacement, like today. You're not just going to be able to mod yourself whenever.
That's now. We don't know what they may allow you to do it to yourself in the future.
Oh, maybe in the future down the line, yeah, you'll have people that kind of mod themselves in that cyberpunk type kind of culture. But from what we've heard of the Death of the Spaceman so far, robotic limbs and prosthesis are just replacements. They're not it's not enhancements, it's replacements. So, and design-wise, I'm liking some of these. They're very medical, very,
I think these first three are the most attractive ones for my own personal taste.
Yeah, I like the blue one.
Kind of like,
I like the blue one.
I think for me, it's 1 and 3.
The more humanoid look, but it still looks robotic.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the blue color, but the design itself I like.
Well, just take it to crows.
Yeah. And then you have these more, I'm going to call them Portal designs, because they kind of remind me of the robots from Portal.
Yep. GLaDOS.
Yeah, GLaDOS, and what are the co-op robots from the co-op campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me of those guys. So, it's a cool design. I like that. I like that that's an option.
Yeah.
Like, you have like this design, and then you have this
yes.
completely robotic design, like more human, comfortable design. These three, the red, gold, and like copper pattern. Not a fan of the copper one.
Really? That's
too contemporary.
2 and 3 are the. I think for me it would be number 3 first, and then number 2. I'm not really a fan of the red one. I don't know why, but
I think it's the forearm. Maybe. I don't know. I like the gold one.
Yeah.
I'm not, and it's not that I don't like I just don't like the pattern, like that the triangle pattern on the third one.
Gotcha. For me, in general, I'm not a big like gameplay prosthetics person, so I'm kind of like, whatever. But I agree with you. I like the amount of variety that they got. I like that you have these very like humanoid, close to humanoid.
Right, like more comfortable. I'd call them comfortable because it looks human in its resemblance to a human arm, so it's more comfortable that in that psychological sense versus these more robotic replacements.
And then they go all the way out to like the steampunk version,
which I am a huge fan of.
See, I'm definitely not a fan of, but I'm all for it being in the game. Like,
Well,
having
yeah,
that variety is
for
good.
options, exactly. Like, honestly, I'm probably going to be using one of the first 6 that we saw, not one of these, but if I
Yeah.
ever have to replace my limb, just because I want to be able to look, oh, look, he doesn't have a robot arm until it's revealed, kind of thing, right?
But
Like,
I
oh.
definitely want, if I have to wear a prosthetic, I better be able to take it off and use it as a weapon when I want to.
Have your other arm use it as a bat.
Yep,
Nice.
exactly. It's my club.
What about number 4 here? That they kind of cut off. I'm gonna slow the speed so that you can.
So right now I'm seeing the gold, the triangle,
And this like
and
the one with the wood.
the one right where before it cuts off. You mean?
Yeah. Doesn't let
Yeah,
you
I'm
show
not a
the
fan of
thumb,
that.
but
It's very angular.
there's a giant hole in the middle of the bicep.
Yeah, to me it's that upper shoulder section looks very angular.
Yeah, I'm not a
and
fan of that upper.
I'm not a fan of that.
You know, everything from like the elbow down is pretty good though.
Yeah,
It's very much like a high class robotic limb.
I'd still go with number 3.
Yeah, I'd go number 2.
I think I'd go 3, but I agreed that the color they use on that one is not necessarily what I'd want.
Oh, the triangle one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because number 3 here. Number 3 here I think looks good. I actually like
I'd
number
go-
2.
For me, my mindset is, okay, now we're getting into like the ones that I don't like, so I'd probably just go like,
right,
instead
well,
of
just-
trying
how
to
about
look
just
as
from
close
design,
to human,
like-
I'd go full on like just, the worst one, which would be number 4 for me.
Oh, number 4. I'd say number 5.
Just because that big robotic ball at the shoulder.
Mm. Number 5 looks
Like,
like it
if
was
you-
literally put together.
I think I would actually go with number 4, except I'd want the number 5 from the wrist down.
Yeah. These actually look like the type of arms you'd see on like a specific character. You know what I mean? Oh crap! You thought those were bad? I forgot
Oh
about
yeah,
these.
no, they get worse.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, number 3 is the worst for me. That just
Number
looks
3.
is horrible.
I hate it because of a
I don't mean
practicality
that like it's
standpoint.
disgusting. I just mean like, oh man, that would suck to have that on.
Yeah. First off, it doesn't look comfortable. Second,
Yep.
I mean, granted, yes, prosthetic arm. Comfort is probably few and
Sure.
far between. But I mean, this practically like I'm someone who's gonna be in combat, right? I don't want an arm that has exposed wires
Yeah.
and easily jammable joints and pistons, and that's
Plus
just a
it looks
bad
like
idea.
it's got like pieces of string holding things on.
It literally does. It literally has a piece of string holding a cable onto the superstructure of the bicep. On what your humerus would be.
Yeah, these
Your
are definitely
humeral,
the
transplant.
the lowest tier of bodily insurance rehab.
Yeah. Honestly, of these 5, I'm going to say my favorite of these 5 is the first one, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn between, I guess, that one and number 2. I think probably number 2 just because it seems less bulky.
Yeah, well, I like number 5 just because I can't even say it reminds me, because if I had an image of it, it would be like a straight up full on inspiration, would be stretching it a bit, but it reminds me a lot of the Iron Man beneath the armored plating Iron Man suit from the movies. The first one.
Like the first iteration of the suit?
Yeah, like when you see in the first movie, he's working on like the legs and
Yeah.
pistons on the legs and the servos for the various ankle motors. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. It actually has identical elements of it.
Right. Oh, I'm sure they pulled from a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
everywhere.
and I'm glad that they are. I'm just saying, like, that's why I like this one. But I'm still going to go with like probably number 2 from the second image that we showed off.
So where's our what is it? I'm not up to speed on it, but is it the Clone War robots that have like the it's like the thumb is on the bottom and then it's got 2 fingers on the top that clamp down? You know, the Roger robots? I wonder, where's that version?
Can I get a gun arm?
Oh, you know somebody wants that.
I want that.
I want a size 1 weapon as
Oh,
my
God.
arm.
Size 1. You can that arm would fall off your body.
Yep. How do you power that?
I would take like, give me like a Demigo
Or with
LMG, but in the form of a robotic arm. I have to
Or-
replace the battery like I would an LMG, but it's my arm now.
Yeah, but every time you fire it, you got to lay down so that you can handle the repercussion.
Yeah, because your arm would just flail about every time. And then you have the arms that we literally just saw.
Yeah.
They are now being like, okay, how do they look on a person, both with the full arm exposed and with the sleeve covering? And this is why I don't want one of these. I would not look that cool in them. Although obviously this is Star Citizen. These arms aren't going to be based on just visuals alone. It's going to be based on how much money you have and your insurance and all sorts of reputation stuff. So there's going to be variables to which arm you get.
And also your location.
Yep.
Certain arms might not be available if you're in
Exactly.
Grimpex.
Like even look, so like we're going up a tier of like arm quality, I guess, and you can already see it looks a little better.
Yeah. Well, I think they want that. They want that variation of can you pass by, a glance inspection and pass it as not having a
Right.
prosthetic all
Or
the
is
way
it going to
to
be
that
something?
dude's got he's got a steampunk fucking, pardon my French, a steampunk arm that's, off gassing steam constantly. Like,
Right. Literally spewing smoke as it operates.
Yeah.
Like, or is it going to be something like number 5 on the top here, on the top row? Or it's like you can tell that's a robotic arm and leg at first glance. Honestly,
Right.
that's probably the most contemporary looking one of the bunch.
Well, I think that's because it's, that's the closest to what we have in
Right, that's
real
what I
world.
mean.
So we got, yeah.
And obviously the bottom row is just with the sleeves down. And honestly, at least with the legs, they actually look pretty good with the sleeves down. Obviously, you have the exposed robotic limbs,
See,
but
number 2, that to me, that looks like the Roger type.
yeah,
But
I actually like number 2 because of how stupid it looks. Like
what are
just how
those
unhuman
robots
it
or
looks.
droids called?
What are what?
What are those droids called in the Star Wars
Oh,
movies?
the battle droids?
Is that what they are? Just
Yeah,
battle droids?
it's just called battle droids.
Okay.
Except they actually had like freaking like their feet design was more like a dress shoe than anything. It was a blocky dress shoe essentially.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a split toe or anything like that. Then we're seeing more foot designs. That is a massive foot on number 2.
Yep.
I got big feet, and that's a big foot. Like you compare number 2, the width of the foot compared to number 4. Or
So
even
if
to
you
number
have
3.
prosthetic legs, does that mean you can automatically, like, magnetically click onto ships in 0G?
I mean, we're gonna
Same
have
with
mag
hands.
boots, so. Which of these do you prefer?
I would go with number 4 for the leg, but the feet are
I know.
just-
Oh,
I don't
you're not
like any
seeing.
of the feet.
Are you not seeing the feet designs on the screen right now?
No, I can see them, but I don't like any of the feet that I see. As far as the leg itself goes, probably number 4.
I honestly I like number 2 just because of the shin and thigh design. But I do like the toe. My favorite design is definitely the foot of number 4.
Yeah, the feet for all these either look too big or too clunky.
Yeah. But I do like
and
the
number 5 just doesn't have anything. So
no, it's just a pogo stick. But I do like the leg itself. The design of the leg for number 2 is definitely my favorite.
yeah, it's not bad.
Like with the knee and like the shin, like it looks human but it looks robotic. It's a nice blend. Number 1
Yeah.
looks like the tall geese from Gundam Wing. At least the leg design, the foot obviously not.
Yeah, it looks like a couple cans stuck together.
Exactly. Tall geese was it had a good head and torso, head and arm design, but the torso and legs. These next set of legs, the more contemporary designs and the more like I'd say like traditional sci-fi designs for a leg, for a robotic leg. I would say 2, just so that when I kick people, it looks like it'll hurt. Look at that! Imagine if you kick someone in the groin with that thing.
I don't know. For that, I think I'd go number 1. That thing just looked beefy.
It looks like a freaking blade for a foot. Yeah, maybe. It is a beefy leg too. Yeah, that's like the Iron Man leg.
Yeah. Again, same thing though. The foot for all these are just there's something wrong in the way they drew them. Just doesn't look.
Well, some
good
of them
to
are
me.
fine. Like that's why I like the non-humanoid looking feet for the robot legs, because the proportions don't look wonky. Whereas like the
Yeah.
foot, like the toe ones, don't really match up.
Yeah. Like I
Then-
said, I'm not big into the gameplay for these, so you probably won't see me sport these
Honestly,
unless-
the gameplay for it is pretty much if your limb gets damaged too much, you're gonna have to get one of these.
or you opt out and restart a new character.
Right, but that means killing your character.
Yeah.
And here's your favorite robot arm being both exposed and covered by a sleeve. And it looks nice. It looks like a normal arm.
Yeah. I think I'd go more subdued color on it, but yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I like number 3 here. The number 3 and number 4 image. Just I love the design of the arm. It's got like this armored, because that's the thing about if you're gonna have a robot arm. At least if I'm gonna have a robot arm, I'd have it like have an armored look to it, and that's what I like about this.
Gotcha.
And obviously, I'd change out the color, but
I'm gonna have to bail out here fairly soon.
all right. But yeah, that wraps up the IC. They had a lot of good stuff in that one. Figured we had to talk about it. We did.
Cool.
So, yep, and obviously there's the ship showdown going on right now. Everyone's going on about the
Cargo.
cargo, or MPUV. We didn't talk about the dynamic event stuff, so real quick, it's pretty much questions that were asked and answered. They talked about Jumptown 2, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm glad they did it, and I want to see more dynamic stuff like that. But as far as did they succeed in recreating the Jumptown experience? I don't think so. But that's not that important. Like I said, I think they just need more events like that.
yeah.
But I would like to see a better version of Jumptown.
Well, what I liked about this AMA that they did, it's really good because it gave us insight into what they're doing, like why they're doing the events, how they're doing them. It essentially answered a lot of the behind-the-scenes questions. And just kind of summarizing the entirety of this AMA in one sentence, it pretty much, or one statement, it'll pretty much be the events they're currently doing are to test events out, as well as to test out specific gameplay features, AI interactions, AI behaviors, and specific animations, as well as behind-the-scenes tech for various stuff that aren't even tied to events, as well as the events themselves. So it's mostly for behind the scenes tech. That they're testing these events out, and why we've had so many of them.
Yeah.
And the other half, like that's one half of this entire AMA. The other half is answering questions regarding future Xenothreat and Ninetales event, as well as Jumptown 2 or J2. And for future Xenothreat, they want to have Dooley, the CDF agent, her face like on the screen, like she's video calming you.
Yeah.
They also want they're addressing a bunch of bugs, and they actually mentioned like a lot of the stuff is essentially they're testing it in a static way where they have to manually trigger the event. In the future, events will be triggered based on player actions in the game, but that will require Tony Z's Quanta simulation tech and Quasar simulation, both. So. And they clearly they state that, and great. Like one of them even answered like, "That's not my department, but I can tell you what I know."
Yeah.
That was good. But the Jumptown 2 stuff, really, they're talking about how they need to address the buy and sell time, right? Like how long it takes to buy and sell stuff. Because sometimes you can only buy and sell a certain amount, and then there's a giant timer.
Yeah, and not only that, but having all the servers tied together means that, like, if somebody on a European server goes to a specific location and buys all the units of medical supplies, that means that location on every single server for everybody else is zeroed out. So now only that person who bought that stuff can turn it in and, continue on with the mission. And that's something that has been affecting not only that, but just trade in general. So they need trade. The whole trade system needs overhauling. But like
and they address that.
That's all tied into Zervik's.
And they do address that with the way they're working around that right now is kind of like shop inventory and shop buy and sell price quantity. I mean inventory quantity. Boosts by something they call shop mods, and that's a temporary and they even say they're waiting. A lot of this stuff requires Tony Z's Quanta and Quasar simulation tech, but until then they're gonna compensate by just boosting the quantity of buy and sell and the inventories, the shop inventory as a whole. So. They will compensate in the meantime by just editing some things for the event, but overall, in the long run, it relies on Tony Z's technology.
Yeah, this is another aspect where I kind of go to me, this aspect of it didn't make sense for Jumptown. I get it, I get why they're doing it, as you've explained. They're doing testing behind the scenes to see, how things work. But to me, for the Jumptown experience, it didn't make sense that you needed to go do a cargo run to as part of Jumptown. To me, the original Jumptown experience wasn't taking things to Jumptown; it was getting things out of there that were highly profitable, and that's why Jumptown was so successful.
No, I think it's still going to be taking things from, isn't it? According to the description they gave. I'm trying to look for that specific comment because they go into what they're doing for Jumptown 2. And
wasn't Jumptown 2 that you had to take your medical supplies to?
No, you're thinking of Ninetales. You're thinking of Ninetales.
It was supposed to be blocked down?
Yeah, the Ninetales lockdown. You had to take medical supplies to the station or something.
Right.
And there was then they addressed that in this AMA where it's there was a lot of problems because we didn't boost it when we should have and stuff like that. So
that's what I mean. It's for Jumptown, the original Jumptown, it was the reason you went there was to get the drugs and take them out and sell them for a high profit. Whereas the way they have this one designed, number 2 designed is you're taking things in and then taking things out. And to me, it's like, why
Is it because they
bother
talked
with the
about
taking things in?
unloading? They talked about loading up your ship. Like you have a Cutlass Black parked at Jumptown 2.0. You have to physically load the boxes onto your ship, which I thought was a really cool concept because now it adds an extra layer of oh no, you know, like okay, come on, hurry. Oh,
Right. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is okay. What I'm trying to get at is that original Jumptown was about endangering yourself to go get something and bring it out that would make you money.
right.
And so what I'm saying is, why did they decide that Jumptown 2 needed to be you taking something in and taking something out? Like that part is what
I didn't
don't
realize
get. Like,
it's actually going to be taking something in and out.
well, you're taking the medical stuff in, right?
Yeah.
And then you get something and bring it out. That's Jumptown 2.
I thought it was
And
just
to
going to
me,
be more of
that's-
the same. Okay.
So what I'm trying to get at is that I understand they're trying to build something that they can study.
Yeah.
But
Again, it's all
and I'm
testing.
okay with that. I'm all for that. What I'm getting at is that doesn't make sense for trying to recreate Jumptown.
Hmm.
That's all. That's the only differentiation I'm trying to make. Is that the reason Jumptown originally worked is because it was they made a mistake and they had unlimited quantity of a very expensive item that you could buy. And that made you as the player sit back and go, okay, it's going to be really risky to go in there, but if I get it, I can make a ton of money and get out. So if they wanted to do a Jumptown 2, to me, they need to recreate that aspect of it, if that makes sense. Like, I understand what they're doing, and I'm all for that. But just don't call it Jumptown 2, I guess, is the bottom line of what I'm saying, because it's not. It's not the Jumptown experience. I think more what they're creating is just a gathering point of different player factions. And in that sense, they succeeded.
So here he says that for Jumptown 2, they're going to be spawning the drugs physically rather than have you buy them in a shop. The inventory then is less 300 boxes becomes available across all servers, and more, a box will be made available to spawn every 30 seconds on each server. There you go. So that's what they're doing for Jumptown 2.
That's where they're recreating that unlimited supply that makes people go, I want to risk it to go in there and get some of that.
And this is what, this is what they're doing for Jumptown 2. So.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
by the way,
first iteration just seemed kind of like somebody who hadn't experienced Jumptown was told to come up with a Jumptown experience, and it's kind of like,
Oh, that's why they have the player feedback, right?
Yeah.
Also, by the way, this image, because we've kind of critiqued the images like that CIG makes that don't represent the game. This actually represents Xenothreat very accurately.
Yeah.
It's one of the most accurate things so far. Like, the ship blowing up on the pad happens.
Well,
a ship on the pad selling.
Because the lighting always seems really bad there, like really dark. Like you can barely see the landing pads.
Well, obviously,
other than that,
this is clearly it's a screenshot using in-game models and everything, but the color saturation's turned way up. The contrast is turned up as well. So the colors pop more. Everything's brighter.
Yeah, I actually would like them to move the station part, Jericho, out of the gas cloud.
Well, Jericho itself isn't in the gas cloud.
True.
Right outside.
I guess what I was going to say, correct myself with, is like somehow increase the lighting just a little bit, because it's very, very dark. Like you can almost run into the thing if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I have run into it, so... I think what they need to do is make the gas cloud maybe act as like an extra light source when the sun's hitting it, because it should light up and produce
an illumination source. Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
Plus, it would be cool because then you're getting this bluish, greenish light.
Yeah. Get a little aqua.
Yeah. So, kind of add some more. Hey, look, it's space. Not everything has to be, like it is on Earth. Type,
Okay, but
situation.
what is that little like glowing sphere thing at the front end of the javelin?
The javelin.
In between the prongs.
I think that's one of the guns. That's always been there.
Really?
Yeah.
That like.
It's on the. If we go to the
yeah.
pledge store, it should be there. On the main image for the ship.
Okay, I
I'm
never
pretty
noticed
sure.
that.
I think our guns, they're like giant guns similar to the Idris.
Okay.
They're not glowing here, but yeah, it's there.
Yeah, I know it has like the big weapons there. It looked like a little black hole, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, there they are, little circles.
Okay.
Actually, it's just showing off the different decks because the ship is fucking massive. But yeah, and
It's
obviously
the
the ship.
super secret wormhole creator.
It shoots wormholes. When it hits you, you appear in a different part of space.
It just
The
teleports
spatial
you to
displacement
space.
device.
There you go.
Also in the chat, we got Megjing1 saying, "Hey guys, now robotics and cybernetics are in Star Citizen. They've always been in Star Citizen. They just haven't been in game."
Yep.
Yes, pretty much. Also, we got today's face-off with the ship showdown. I haven't voted yet, so I'm not signed in on this browser. But what?
So one thing for anyone listening that's wondering about this, just remember this one thing. This happens every year. All you're getting is a skin. The Cutlass Black has like won this thing like 4 times in a row.
Twice.
So,
there's only been 2.
I thought it had like. Okay, I might be wrong on that, but it's won it a couple times.
Yeah, it's won it each time.
The only point I'm making is that just because your ship doesn't make it this year doesn't mean it won't happen again. Won't have a chance to do it again next year.
Yep.
And having said that, go Argo Cargo.
No.
Because honestly, I think if the Argo Cargo goes up against the Star Runner, I think it's going to have a hard time. But if people realize that the Star Runner already has like 3 or 4 skins,
it has so many skins. I don't want the Argo to win because of that.
Not
the Star Runner. Sorry, because the Star Runner is a great ship, but it has way too many skins as it is compared to other ships that only have 1 skin or 2 skins.
Or if you don't agree with Mando's assessment and you just want your Star Runner to win for the sake of winning, just remember it could win next year. But at least the Argo Cargo has 1 skin. That's all I'm saying.
What ships won? So last year was the Carrack, Eclipse, Valkyrie, and Cutlass Black.
See, I thought they had done more.
2 years ago,
I think what I may be confusing or adding into the cluster is just the general
IAE?
sitcom skins, like the end
Yeah.
of the year.
That's been
Best in
that's a
show
different
or whatever.
thing.
So in that sense, Cutlass
because
has
the Valkyrie
a butt ton.
has a CitizenCon skin from 2019, which was before they started. They started in 2020 with Best in Show.
Yeah.
Remember, the first one was with that really horrible off-white with purple.
I missed that one.
I think it was the Hammerhead, the Caterpillar, Cutlass Black, and I want to say the Reclaimer was the 4th one, because there's 4 winners every year.
Yeah.
So
there was
best 4
first-
ships win.
I think the first like 2 years that they did skins, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, well, they did it last year
Basically,
too.
just this last one was the first one. I was like, oh, hey, I've got a skin in my inventory. What
Yeah,
is
for
this
your
skin from?
let me guess, for your Cutlass.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nice white and gold looks great.
It is a good one. I gotta admit that. I'm usually not a fan of the bright colors, but that white and that gold and the black kind of all mixed together just right.
It's beautiful. I use it all the time on mine. But I'm glad that the Hercules beat the Caterpillar. Let's see, we got the Reclaimer won against the Argo Mole, which I thought was what a jip. Like the mole should have won. But we got the Carrack against Andromeda. Carrack's gonna win. That's kind of a no-brainer. The Argo Cargo beat the Freelancer Max. And we got the 600i Explorer that beat the Cutlass Black. So the Cutlass Black is not going to win this year because it already got disqualified.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just for the variety of ships in the verse, I'm a fan of that. I'd like to see a 600 with maybe a different.
It's going to be in the colors.
It's not going to be subdued, but I'd like to see a more subdued 600 skin sometime in the future.
It's going to be in the IAE colors of this year. So we haven't seen the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo logo for this year yet. It's going to be the same logos every year, but the coloration is different. What?
I mean, who's to say it's not going to be this orange, white, and blue that we see on?
It might be. I hope so. But
no.
I mean, it can work, but then again, we already have a ship that's in these type of colors, and it's called the Vanguard Sentinel.
Yeah. Oh, and the isn't one of the Stalker versions some kind of? Oh no,
it's the blue and yellow. It's blue and gold, but actually no, the Mustang Beta's in the same blue and orange that you see on screen as well. So.
Gotcha.
So we have multiple ships already in this color scheme, but that's why I'm saying I think the logo, they did show variants of the logo. None of them are final, but the coloration, obviously it was like a blue and whitish type thing. The Crusader. That's the whole point. It's gonna be on Crusader this year. Yep. So the color, the logo for the IAE is the same. Obviously, it's not changing the logo, but the coloration of the logo changes every year depending on what location it's on.
Check. Just a FYI, I got about 5 minutes left.
All right. So which ship would you want? Defender or Retaliator?
Defender or Retaliator? Probably Retaliator.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, how the hell would a skin work on the Banu Defender?
Yeah.
Whereas the Retaliator could use some love.
And to me, also, my criteria is I also think about how many ships are out there that people actually own. And to me, the
more
Defender
people own
is a
Retaliators.
more limited ship.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. Whichever ship wins will be going up against the 600i in the next round.
And for anyone
whichever one of
ships,
these ships wins.
For anyone building ships, the Banu Defender is a really good ship to buy in game because it's got one of the best shield generators. But it'll cost you about $2 million to buy that.
It really it depends on personal preference at the end of the day, right?
Well, no, the Defender's shield generator.
No, I meant like why are you getting the ship type thing.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
Like between the two ships here. But personally, I'd go with the Retaliator. I love the multi-crew. I think the Retaliator definitely needs more love. And
yes.
And the fact that, again, whichever one of these ships that wins goes up against the 600i, I feel the Retaliator has a better chance of winning against the 600i, which means he'll go to the next round and fight whichever one of these four ships wins.
Yeah.
Because it's Star Runner versus Razor, and then we have Gladius versus Saber. That's probably gonna be the toughest one out of all of them.
I think the final battle is gonna be. I haven't looked at all the different variables in this matrix here, but just off the top of my head, I think it's gonna be down to the Argo Cargo versus a Star Runner for the final.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And if it's not the Argo Cargo, then it'll be the Carrack versus the Star Runner.
Yeah. Which, honestly, that's going to be a tough battle, too.
Yeah.
Because that's like those are two of the same ship, two different ships that had the same type of reputation, and that people wanted them really badly.
And they're good ships for running around in the verse. I mean, people use them. So there's people who are tied into those ships just because they're using them constantly.
Now that I have a Carrack, almost every time I'm helping out new players, I bring around my Carrack so I can hey, You guys, and like
Yeah.
whenever I usually end up having to log off before them. So I'm like, hey, you guys want this ship? Take it. All good.
Yeah.
This way they
That's
can just
definitely one way to make
play
friends.
with this new ship, this giant multi-crew ship and everything. Get used to it, learn it. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up everything from this, from Star Citizen.
Yeah.
A lot of medical gameplay stuff. Pretty much most of it was medical gameplay stuff in terms of the news this week.
Yeah.
For anyone watching, links to all the sources of everything we talked about today are in the description. So, the ship Showdown even is linked in the description, as is... Oh, no, we didn't talk about the last thing we forgot to talk about. The ASA... it's actually not the best of news.
ASA?
So the ASA, the advertising.
Oh, yeah.
Watch and face. Yeah, the advertising
But
standards
to
agency.
me, I'm gonna say, before you explain it, I'm gonna say it's a non-story. To me, it's just somebody trying to whip up a storm over nothing.
Yeah, so pretty much this is the result of a guy literally stirring up trouble for the sake of stirring up trouble. That's what I got out of it, because I read the original Eurogamer article that covered it, and it's pretty much some guy on Twitter, or was it Reddit, got upset at the email not being clear enough about concept ships being for sale, despite it saying concept ship. Because the whole point was the ship is a concept ship, so it's not in the game yet. It's only a concept.
His whole argument is that it's the term concept ship isn't clearly defined what concept ship actually means. That's all his argument is. And basically it got kicked up to the
My
European,
annoyance is
that
that
English?
I think, yeah, the UK. Yeah.
So it's the English Gaming Authority kind of people, and I'm not even saying that correctly, but essentially kind of the consumer protection people for the UK looked into it and said, yes, it could be worded differently, and that's all they said.
So yeah, and they're pretty much like and that's the thing is, the article itself, they try to kind of like, they're not super, fans of Star Citizen. I mean that in the sense of they don't like Star Citizen, and but even in the article they quote the email saying this means that the vehicle is in the development but is not yet ready to display in your hangar or fly in game. It will be available as playable content in the later patch. In the future, the vehicle price may increase, and the lifetime insurance or any other areas may not be available. The point being that the definition of concept ship is clearly stated in the email. Just stirring up trouble for the sake of stirring up trouble.
Yeah, it just whatever.
So
send him Derek Smart's email address, and they can hang out together.
Also, the fact that the email also adds to the fact that the ship sales are planned for, like, they're sold for the purpose of funding the game and funding the development of the ship, and that the fact that once the game is final, like it's in the final state, the game's fully released, you will not be able to buy anything from Star Citizen real money on the website. All that stuff will be gone. You can only get them in game. Because the whole point of buying ships is to fund the game. It's essentially, I guess I hate the word, evolution is definitely not the right, it's like a step up from their Kickstarter origins.
Yeah, I will say this though, they do need to readdress how they market based on
Agreed.
how long they're now in development, and with how much they've developed. I think it would be smart of them to maybe rethink how they put forward their request is the wrong word, but I get they want to get people to give them money, and they have every right to do that, but maybe change how they make that presentation to somebody who's not learned in what Star Citizen is, so that there's less of a chance of this kind of stuff happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I would also say this.
But it's also a case of just freaking read.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a mix of both. It's like, yes, they do need to work on their marketing. That is, we've gone on a whole rant a few weeks ago about that. However, people also do need to learn to read.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a bit of both. But the thing is that the guy, this Matsy guy, said, the quote here, that fed up of CIG and the constant lies, obviously, and eventually this somehow got taken to the advertising standards authority in the UK, and this is what really this is what annoys me about this, is that, again, we just said what this was. This was clearly just a case of he didn't read, or he's just trying to start trouble for the sake of doing so. And now we have a legal entity getting involved, condemning CIG for what they're doing, which, granted, yes, they could do it better, but my problem isn't that they're condemning CIG. It's that
they didn't condemn them.
Well, they gave him an advice notice. But my point is, they're getting on CIG's case, but they're not getting on the case of EA, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, all these major AAA gaming publishers that do falsely advertise all the damn fucking time. Those guys aren't doing anything wrong, according to these people, but CIG is. That's what bothers me.
Well, I wouldn't say that they said CIG is. If you read it,
I have.
Basically, what they did is, all they said was, yes, it could be worded differently, which is essentially the same as saying, duly noted. You know, he raised his hand up, he complained, and they went, duly noted. And that's it. Like, they didn't say that CIG actually needs to change anything. They just said, you could change something if you wanted to. That's all. That was.
But that's my point. Wasn't you're right, and I did read it. My point wasn't that. My point was that why is CIG getting pointed at for false advertising when other companies have falsely advertised to the detriment of customers with fully released products? You know,
because some writer didn't have a story for the week, and this thing dropped on his desk, and he went, "How can I whip this up into a story?" And thus we get what you're reading.
Right. Well, my point was just to point out the hypocrisy of the situation.
Yeah.
You know, because take Cyberpunk 2077 or Fallout 76 or pretty much every other game that came out from a major AAA publisher in the last 7 years, and they're all falsely advertised. And nothing happens.
I gotta leave you on your soapbox here, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's okay. I have my soapbox. It'll bring it's actually a companion cube, so it doubles.
There you go. Good show, and I will see you next week.
Yeah.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You too. All right, but yeah, my problem with this is, like, what the ASA did tell them was that the ASA assessed and considered that the fact that the ship was a concept product could have been made clearer. On that basis, we issued an advice notice advising the advertiser, being CIG and RSI, in future to ensure that its ads include any material, informational, and significant limitations. Which, great, awesome. Seriously, that is awesome. Good. However, my problem with this is, again, it's just trouble for the sake of starting trouble, and the hypocrisy of the situation. That's all I'm upset about. The ASA and the advice notice, that's understandable, logical, and actually appreciated. But it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue being brought up as news. And I'm not exactly... And the problem here is I'm making a story about it here too, which isn't great either. So, but I do want to just share my opinion on it, and that is, I just hate the hypocrisy of the situation where you have, your Activision Blizzards and your CD Projekt Reds and EAs and all these AAA gaming companies that falsely advertise all the damn time and get away with it, and then CIG gets and then it's not even that CIG is getting it, any trouble or anything, because they didn't. It's just that people just love bashing on Star Citizen because, it's the popular thing to do on the internet. Scam Citizen is what it's called, so. Or what people like to call it, I should say. And the problem here is Matzi, who made the comment and started this whole issue in the first place, literally says, the wording is still extremely misleading as they claim the ships will be playable, implying that he doesn't believe the ships will be, despite the fact that they will be. And I speak from experience in that, hey look, this ship, like the Carrack I saw in concept for 6 years, finally got implemented in the game, I can play it now. So, whatever, it's just, again, it's a non-issue started by a guy who clearly doesn't like Star Citizen and is just, just causing an issue to hate on the game because he can. Which I think is dubious and kind of stupid. Again, it's a non-issue. But that's my rant on that topic. If anyone's still watching, I could go into the whole Sony thing, but because there is some Sony news. Otherwise, but if no one else is watching, then I'm just going to shut the stream down for. So, I think this is going to be the end. Actually, real quick, China report. Screw this. No, I'm not gonna. Nah, I'm kind of. So again, what I was getting at before when we were ending, when I was supposed to end the stream, all the links for everything that we talked about is in the description below, including the article I just read, which is why I remembered it was there, because I was looking in the description at the time. And so if you want to, and also, as we always say, do your own research and verify things for yourselves. Don't just take our word for it. But anyway, I hope you guys found this episode of Cast in Shadows entertaining, enjoyable, and informative. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed. If you haven't, please do, because it helps. If you didn't like the show, give us a thumbs down and tell us why in the comment section, because we're always interested in feedback, and otherwise we can't grow. Let us know what you guys think of all this. What do you guys think of the medical gameplay in Star Citizen? Do you want a robot arm? Like which type of robot arm? Like that more steampunk, haphazardly put together robot arm, or that more high class style sci-fi arm? Yeah. If you guys hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys want to support us in a more personal way, links in the description for our merch store. I will be making a new t-shirt right after this stream is over, where the shirt is going to be a quote that I said earlier in the episode. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, this has been Cast in the Shadows, and remember to treat others how you want to be treated.